Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the MHA What If with another fanfiction. This is the move of what if Deku was sick but still a hero? All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanf. Izuku Midoriya used to think that his quirklessness was a biological mess-up. Life is weird and sometimes things happen and genes get messed up a little. His mom said his grandma was extremely nearsighted and his great-uncle had the heart of a lion. Both are the results of biology that no one can predict or control. His quirklessness was just a little mistake. It won't stop him from enjoying his life. Though, it did make it a bit hard sometimes. Kaken grew mad at the news and they stopped being close friends. Kaken even became a bit of a bully, but that is not his fault. Auntie Mitsuki was the same way as a kid according to his mom. She only mellowed out after having mom be a constant friend and meeting Uncle Masu. Kaken just inherited his mom's attitude and that is not his fault. If he continues to be a good friend then Kaken will be nice again. In the meantime a few burns and some mean words don't hurt that much. In the meantime, while he waited for Kaken to be his friend again, Izuku delved deep in his passion for heroes. In a world where quirks are everything, heroes are a prime example on seeing fascinating, powerful, and versatile quirks. Crimson Riot can harden his entire head and use it like a battering ram. A normal skull and skin could not handle that. Nizu was an animal, but more intelligent than humans. Somehow his quirk altered his brain and made it able to process and handle more information. Midnight can release a scent from her skin to make people fall asleep. Present Mike has incredibly strong vocal mutations to result in his quirk. He was even born with it. Eraserhead was somehow able to take away a biological reaction that occurs in emitter quirks to cause said quirk to stop working as long as he is staring. All Might was the most incredible of them all though. Not only is he the #1 hero, but no one knows what his quirk is exactly. He is incredibly strong and fast to the point where some of the things he does seem inhuman even in modern society. A quirk that is strong and versatile is an abnormality. He must have amazing genes. Not only that, his personality is fantastic. He is kind and charismatic. Everyone adores him and he still remains sweet and humble. Just by smiling his bright white teeth, people calm down. But because All Might is here to save the day. While Izuku knows he can't be a hero like All Might, a super strong man who is able to hold up a bridge with his hands and move faster than a bullet train, he can still be a hero who saves others. His mom always says his smile is contagious and always makes her feel better. While he may not have a quirk, with the right exercise regimen and training to make his body as strong as possible, he could still be a hero. One who would make people feel better with just his smile. But because he was here to save the day. While he might be lacking in the quirk department, he decided to make up for it by studying and dissecting quirks. What use are quirks if one knew their weakness? Quirks are just a part of the body and nobody is perfect. So, while a bit lonely, Izuku was alright with his life. He had a plan, he studied quirks all day long, and he knew that one day Kaken would be his friend again. Some days were better than others of course. The bullying kept getting worse. Izuku would walk away from school nowadays with more than just mild burns. The words got harsher and sometimes made him cry. Well, more than sometimes. Midoriyas are famous for crying a lot. It is to the point that whenever mom hangs out with Auntie always makes sure to carry a pack of tissues and a bottle of water. He wondered if Kaken would do that for him one day. Izuku knew if he was crying and Kaken pulled out a packet of tissues from his pocket and rubbed his back like Auntie does to mom, he would only cry harder. He knew everything was temporary at the moment and things would get better. Being quirkless was just a little burp in his biology and it wasn't going to stop him. Izuku Midoriya only wished quirklessness was the only issue his body gave him. Mom, can you give me a tissue? Oh Zuzu baby here, hold your head up and pinch your nose. Let me get the towel to wipe your face and neck clean. Inko Midoriya was doing the dishes after eating dinner with her 10-year-old son. Life was good. She had a lovely little boy, a demanding but nice job, and her best friend since childhood still by her side. Her husband left her when he found out she was pregnant. While he said he was ready to be a dad, Hisashi's work relocating him quickly to America and the lack of letters and calls says otherwise. It hurt for a bit. She was even angry at her unborn baby for a while for causing her love to leave, but once she gave birth to her baby boy and held him in her arms for the first time, the anger melted away and was replaced with pure motherly love. Once in a while she would look at her wedding photos and misses the old times, but having her baby boy was something she would never regret. Life was nice, but her son was starting to worry her. He would get random nosebleeds and often complained about headaches. At first, when only the headaches occurred, she chalked it all up to all the screen time. She never minded too much before. He always got his chores and homework done and was such a sweet boy that having access to the TV and computer to watch her fights and write in his notebooks was not a big deal. It made her baby happy, so it made her happy. Miki did say once that she limited screen time for Katsuki and she never talked about him having nosebleeds. Still though, even with the limited screen time, the headache kept coming. Sometimes she would watch Zuzu stumble a bit and say he was lightheaded for a second. Inko wondered if her son was like her grandmother and needed glasses, so they went to the eye clinic. They said his vision is fine though. He didn't need glasses and wasn't even nearsighted like her mom. Then the nosebleeds started. She wondered if it was allergies or seasonal responses. She used to get nosebleeds now and then in the fall due to the dry air, but as the time passed and weather changed, the nosebleeds and headaches kept happening. "Are you okay, sweetie? Do you have a headache?" Inko kneeled by her son as she took the wet towel and gently whipped the drying blood off his face and neck. It has gotten to the point where the small family has a dedicated blood rag for Izuku's nosebleed cleanups. "Just a little one." "Sorry, Mom, I got blood on my shirt again." Izuku looked at his mom and gave a small but guilty smile. He hates to cause his mom trouble. Plus the shirt he wore was the new one his auntie gave him. First time wearing a shirt and he got blood on it. At least this time he was able to make sure the blood did not get on his notebook. He finally found a tiny, grainy, and short video of Eraserhead and was writing about the underground hero. "Oh baby, don't worry about that. Blood can be washed off with the right cleaning. Once your nose stops bleeding, I'll wash it right away and it will be as good as new." Izuku, her precious baby, giggled at her positive attitude and smiled despite being in the uncomfortable position to try and stop the nosebleed. Soon though it stopped and Izuku went to his room to change into a different shirt and hand the bloody one to his mom. While that happened, Inko looked at her calendar and called up Izuku's doctor's office to make an appointment for her boy. The little family went to the doctor's. Then they were referred to another one and another one. Finally they were in a small room after Izuku had a consultation with a neurologist. Dr. Morimoto walked into the room. She was an older lady with her slightly gray hair pulled back into a bun. Izuku was a little scared of her at first, but Dr. Morimoto, or please, call me Dr. Toto if you want, little Midoriya, quickly showed she was not scary with her kind smile and a little all-might figure she brought out of her desk to help Izuku relax. "Ms. Midoriya, little Midoriya, I have some news for you too." Dr. Toto looked at the two, and her smile was gone. "I always believe in being direct with my patients at all ages. Based on the neurological tests, I have some concerning results. More testing will need to be done, such as imaging, but what I have found correlates to results with people that have a tumor, brain tumor to be specifically." Izuku Midoriya really wished quirklessness was the only mistake his body gave him. Since the diagnosis, Izuku's mom cried a bit more. The trips to the doctors increased a lot. They needed to do all these tests and take his blood and all these confusing things. Half the time Izuku didn't know why they were doing these things. The doctors and nurses did their best to explain, but they talked more of the science side with his mom and gave him big smiles and lollipops. While Izuku never looked at his quirklessness as more than a slight inconvenience, he knew that people saw it as a sign he was to be pitied or treated badly. His time at school taught him that. In the earlier grades, some teachers treated him like glass and gave him compliments for the smallest of reasons. Now though, most teachers treated him indifferently or with disdain. They would ignore his existence or call him out for the slightest of things. One time his shoe was untied and he got detention for being a hazard to others. With those reactions in mind, Izuku was concerned about how he would be treated at the hospital. Turns out he didn't really have to worry. Decades ago, a big-named hospital in Tokyo refused to treat a quirkless man when he went to the hospital for a pain in his chest. Normally the man went to his private doctor, but he was visiting Tokyo. The man died. Turns out the man was the brother of a big-named politician who the public adored. The politician quickly passed a law stating medical teams could not discriminate against patients and must treat everyone regardless of quirk status. Hospital staff who were found to be discriminatory were fired and in extreme cases given jail time. The politician also set up a trust fund solely designated for paying the medical treatment for the quirkless people of Japan. The man put in millions in the trust fund, and when he died the rest of his monetary value went into it as well. Since the minority of people in Japan are quirkless, as well as the fact that the trust fund was set up in a bank to gain interest, the trust fund is very well off and the Midoriyas will never have to worry about a bill for Izuku's treatment. Izuku still went to school, though his treatment there got worse. His mom of course told her best friend the news. Auntie told Kaken, who spread it around the school. Now he was the sick, quirkless kid. He was more isolated than before since now no one wanted to be near him. The teacher put his desk in the farthest corner of the room. The taunts got worse too. Quirkless and sick? Even his own body doesn't want him to live. I bet his mom feels better. Since he will die young, she doesn't have to worry about having a quirkless kid dragging her down for the rest of her life. He is so useless he can't even live right. The beating did stop though. I guess since he makes frequent trips to the hospital, his schoolmates figured it wasn't the best idea to leave physical marks on him. Kaken didn't do much to him. In fact, he pretty much ignored him. Well, besides the glares and warning explosions and that damn nerd. Shut the fuck up, Deku, when his mumbling got too loud and distracting. Perhaps Auntie said something to him that made him stop. Speaking of Auntie, she and Uncle often stopped by with food for Mom and him. Auntie always gave him a big pat on the head while Uncle kneeled down to hug him. The three adults would often talk for hours, usually about Izuku's medical treatment plans. He has only been diagnosed for a short while and is only in the planning mode. Mom said his tumor is deep in his brain and that surgery is not recommended for a long while. Izuku is supposed to start something called chemo soon. Auntie told them that she will design and make a ton of hats, especially hero-themed since Izuku adores hero. Apparently chemo can make you lose your hair. A month after the diagnosis, Izuku and his mom make their way to the hospital to have his first chemo treatment. It was a beautiful Tuesday morning and his mom told him not to worry about school that day. Before they were taken to a room to start treatment, his mom needed to fill out more paperwork. The hospital is fairly empty this morning, it seems. There were only a few people in the waiting room. When his mom went up to the nurses to drop off the paperwork and talk to the nurse there for a bit about a few questions she had and what else they needed to do before the session starts, a man walked out of the hospital corridor and started to head to the exit. He was tall with long dark hair and eye bags that made him look like he hadn't slept in days. He wore a black jumpsuit with a belt and a long gray scarf. Izuku didn't even need to see the yellow goggles he was holding before he jumped out of his seat and shouted out in shock. "Oh my gosh, it's Eraserhead!" Shoyuda Aizawa, pro hero Eraserhead, has been a pro hero for 10 years now. Like many others, he received his first license in high school when he was a student of UA. Since then he has never stopped working. Some people may say he is a workaholic to the extreme degree, but there are lives on the line. Logically, being fully invested in his work is a small price to pay for saving others. All in all, Aizawa liked to think that being a hero, an underground one to be specific, made him very hard to catch off guard. However, his hero analysis being yelled at a loud volume did certainly surprise him. The tired man immediately stopped in his track. In all his years of being a pro hero, he has never once been recognized by a civilian. Hell, even some of the new police officers and heroes don't know him. They often think he is a vigilante until he pulls out his card. His hero ID is always in an easy-to-access, well-used pocket in his belt. When he looks over to whoever shouted his hero name, all he sees is a flash of green before something is dashing in his direction. Due to muscle, his body reacted to the oncoming tackle and he quickly had the green blur wrapped up in his capture weapon before he realized what he was doing. When his mind caught up with his body, he realized had a little green child in his capture weapon staring at him in disbelief. Oh boy, here comes the crying. Shoyuda Eraserhead, gently put the child down on the ground, unwrapped the capture weapon, and waited for the tears to start. That was so amazing. That proves it. You are him. You are Eraserhead. So bright. That was the first thought as Aizawa looked down at the child before him. The child gave him the second brightest smile has ever seen, the first belonging to his fiancée. He has seen many awe-filled smiles from citizens before, but never directed at him. They were usually always shined towards other pro-heroes, limelight heroes. I knew it was you. I knew it. The capture scarf is the biggest getaway, but the one short and grainy video I found of you showed you also wore an all-black outfit with dark hair. Your yellow goggles. They are in your hand. So awesome. Plus you look really tired, and underground heroes work at night. Since it is the morning, then of course you will be tired after fighting and saving people all night long. Oh wow. I can't believe the Eraserhead is in front of me. This is unbelievable. I have so many questions. What is your capture weapon made of? Is it metal? Cloth? A mix? I think mix is most likely, but of what? When it was on me, amazing reaction speed by the way, as expected of the Eraserhead, it was soft but I felt tension when it wrapped around me. How does it levitate too? Could it be? There have been a few times when Aizawa has felt a bit overwhelmed. The most recent one was when his fiancée proposed to him. This was now near the top of the short list. There was a tiny green child talking a mile a minute about him and trying to dissect his capture weapon. Why on earth does this human sprout know him? This was highly unusual and Aizawa prefers normalcy. So, the man did the most logical thing he could think of while running on 17 hours of sleep over the past week and lots of coffee. He put his hand over the kid's mouth to stop the talking. Well, that stopped the talking at least, but now the two were staring at each other in silence. This is worse. This is much worse. The tired man closed his eyes and hung his head. Why is my hand getting wet? Aizawa looks back at the kid he has silenced and now blood is dripping onto his palm and through his fingers. Fucking Jesus Christ. Aizawa quickly fell to his knees, put his goggles in his pocket, removed his hand from the sprout's face, analyzed the situation, and figure out where on earth did the blood come from. He reached over and grabbed some tissues from the hospital waiting room tissue box and started cleaning the child's face. Looks like just a nosebleed? Fuck, that was a lot of blood, shit. Don't repeat that, kid, or the other words of there. The green boy looked at the pro-hero with wide eyes full of innocence and awe. Fuck? But Kaken says it all the time though. Well then this Kaken needs to shut hell up. What are you, 7? You shouldn't know those words yet. I'm 10. Why are you tiny? With the last swipe from the tissue, Aizawa stood back up and looked down at the boy who only came up to the bottom of his rib cage. I'm not tiny. The boy was now pouting, and wasn't that an adorable sight? With the blood now clean from the boy's face, Aizawa could see whole constellations of freckles on those cheeks still full of baby fat. Aizawa wasn't one to see other humans as cute. Cats were cute, kittens were the cutest, and apparently this kid was cute too. Sure kid, whatever you say. Now, how do you know me? He had a lot of questions to be honest, like why is he so cute that even he, Eraserhead, can acknowledge it? Maybe it is the sprout's quirk. It isn't illogical for a cuteness quirk to exist in today's society. You are one of my all-time favorite heroes. You are an underground hero who fights at night and does the work others forget about. I once saw a short video of your fighting and it was amazing. It looked like a mix of a bunch of different martial art styles and street fighting. I've never seen anything like it before, which leads me to believe that you created it all on your own, and that is so cool. Welp, there the sprout goes again. I am so tired it sounds like he is praising me. Also, based on what I saw and figured out, your quirk is an eraser type, right? From your eyes? I'm guessing that is what your goggles are for. Unless perhaps it is actually your hair since it floats. How does it work? Are there limits, drawbacks? Does it work on all quirks? How can a quirk erase others? Does that mean you essentially shut down a part of their body temporarily? I have so many questions. Aizawa DXE is currently rebooting from the onslaught of praise and questions. Please wait a moment. If the situation is dire, please feel free to leave a message so default hero mode Eraserhead.exe can activate. Wait, I'm one of your favorites? Me? The hobo-looking hero was truly confused. Aizawa is underground, so no one should know him. He is also aware that his practical hero outfit and his appearance make others think he is homeless. A few times people have handed him cash and told him to get some ramen. It always makes Hizashi laugh. They have a jar at home labeled Shuta's hobo money. The stash is steadily growing. Of course you are. You are a super cool, amazingly talented hero who does such needed work that no one else does. Underground heroes keep the city functioning. And your quirk is non-combative. You don't really see that all too often in heroes. P+, based on your quirk, it only disables the villain, so you fight quirkless, and that, ma makes me think I see could be, a hero. You are an inspiration. The boy whispered the last part and Aizawa barely heard him. Quirkless. A quirkless kid. A very smart kid. A tiny kid who knew about him. A kid who is now very red in the face and looking like a little strawberry. Though, to be honest, his face was probably just as red. Quirks are just a tool. Nothing more. They are helpful, but they are not everything. In some circumstances it can even be a hindrance. Quirks are just tools and don't make a hero. Green Eyes looked directly into his own tired ones for a few moments after his little speech, like he was searching for something. Did he say something bad? He isn't good with kids or actually people in general, to be honest. Sprout then teared up and all of a sudden Eraserhead, the stoic hero of few words and lives off of coffee and spite, now has a child hugging him like a lifeline and bawling into his chest. This is not exactly how he expected to end his shift. Usually he is covered in sweat and blood, not tears. Still, this isn't the worst way to end a shift. Aizawa patted the boy's head. Damn, his hair is as soft and fluffy as a Maine Coon. Izuku? Izuku? A woman was looking around the waiting room looking for someone. Based on the green hair and similar features, this must be the boy's mother. She looked over at the pair and immediately ran over. Izuku, what are you doing? She quickly rushed over to them and pried her son off of him. Are you okay? What's wrong? She hugged her son and stared at him. Why was her glare more scary than some thugs he fights? He does not want to get on her bad side. Note to self. Mama Sprout is protective of baby Sprout. Do not anger. H's Eraserhead. The boy, Izuku apparently, was still crying slightly and a little hard to understand, but his mother seemed to know what he said. She instantly stopped her glare and smiled at him. So the bright smile does run in the family. Are they related to Hizashi? He has never mentioned a family of Sprouts though. Eraserhead? Oh, that hero you like. Oh wow. Isn't that great, Izuku? Mama Sprout hugged Izuku tighter when he gave the two adults a bright big smile as he wiped the tears from his face. And thank you, Mr. Eraserhead, for meeting my little boy. He is such a big fan of yours. We need to go though, Izuku, they are ready for you. The woman gave Iowa a bow and led her boy away to where a nurse was waiting for them. So the Sprout's name is Izuku. Aizawa gave the pair one last look, and even a nod when Izuku looked back at him before heading home to his cats and his fiancée. I have a feeling Hizashi will want to hear about this. I forgot to ask for his autograph. Izuku baby, I'm going to be home late. I'm so sorry, but the office needs me to come to work right now. Sounds like some numbers were off and papers are missing. Right now, everyone needs to go to the office and work overtime. Mom, it's okay. You do what you need to do and don't worry about me. They need you there. Oh, you are such a good boy. I love you so much. There is some money on the counter, okay? Go get yourself something tasty, alright? It isn't every day that you turn 11. You better believe that when I find out who made the mistake to make me miss my baby's birthday, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. Okay, I'm leaving. Love you. Don't forget to take your meds. Inko Midoriya kissed Izuku's forehead before running out the door to go to the office. She loves her job as a law office secretary, but on days like today she wished she didn't so she could tell them no when they ask her to come in suddenly. She is so lucky she has such a kind and understanding child. Izuku Midoriya turns 11 years old today. Every other birthday he would spend it with his mom. She would cook his favorite food, katsudon, and a homemade cake. They would then spend the rest of the night on the couch and watch his favorite hero documentary on All Might. It showed his favorite video clip of All Might smiling as he carried dozens of people to safety. The documentary even manages to find some of the people that All Might saved and interview them. It is a fantastic video that didn't focus on All Might's villain takedowns or smashes, but rather his rescues and interaction with the public. Today though it would be just him since his mom is busy. Kaken hasn't celebrated his birthday with him since he turned 4 and no quirk appeared. Sometimes he gets a letter from his dad, but those aren't always guaranteed. He didn't have anyone else who cared for him, well besides the nurses and doctors whose job is to literally care for him. The only other pleasant conversation he had with a person recently was with Eraserhead. I still can't believe I forgot to ask for his autograph. That was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Oh well, what can you do? Let's see, it's my birthday, I think cake sounds nice. Izuku took the money from the counter, grabbed his backpack, and left the apartment while looking up nearby cafes on his phone. Oh, a cat cafe? That must have opened up recently. I don't think I've been to one before. Nothing like a birthday to try something new. With the directions set on his phone, Izuku set out to the cafe. The short walk to the cafe was peaceful. It was a nice day out and nothing seemed to be going on. People weren't rushing to be anywhere and there were no reported hero fights nearby based on the news app for the area. After a 15-minute walk, Izuku arrived at the newly opened cat cafe, Perfect Pastries. The smell of freshly baked goods and coffee hit his nose as Izuku opened the door. The door hit a little bell and chimed while a welcome was said by the cashier at the counter. After browsing the menu and the dessert case in the front, he chose a simple strawberry shortcake and a small milk bubble tea. It was a hard choice though, everything looked and smelled so tasty. He did have some cash left over to buy some instant ramen and other snacks on his way back home. This isn't the best meal to eat, but it is okay to indulge in junk once in a while. Plus it was his birthday, so he deserved to eat the junk food he wanted to thank you very much. After his little cake and tea were ready, he thanked the cashier and found a nice little table in the corner near the back of the cafe. It seemed that the place was mostly empty right now. There were a few people here and there, but it was about dinner time, so most went to restaurants to eat a full meal instead of a cafe to have a sweet treat. Right when he sat down, a fluffy black cat hopped the seat next to him and started meowing. She seemed to be a long-hair type of cat with big green eyes and a little white patch of fur on her chest. She was batting his chest with her left paw before cuddling down onto his lap. Hee hee, are you demanding attention? Yeah. You are so sweet and cute. Who am I to refuse to the floof? No one can refuse the floof. Huh. Izuku looked up and saw a lavender hair boy the same age as him moving to sit across from him. His hair was very fluffy and sticking right up and out of his face. It looked like he got caught up in a windstorm, though it did look nice on him. He was drinking an iced coffee. The boy looked like he hasn't slept in weeks. Eraserhead might have an eye bag rival. Kuromi there doesn't really like people too much. They are all rescues here, you know. She is usually skittish and only comes up to you after a while. Seeing her jump on your lap immediately made me curious. Oh, I'm not too sure W. Izuku did not know what to say. It has been years since he has had a nice conversation with someone his own age. Luckily, it seems the action of petting a cat calmed him slightly, though he was pretty embarrassed. He could feel his face heating up a bit, mainly his cheeks and ears. Should he not have allowed the kitty to be on his lap? But it is a cat cafe, so you are allowed to interact with the cats, right? And it seems Kuromi really liked the pets she was getting. Easy there, Greenie. You are starting to look like that strawberry on your cake. I'm Shinso Midoriya. Midoriya. And nice to meet you. You really are a Greenie, it's in your name. Ditto. With that, Shinso leaned back into his seat and scrolled through his phone as he sipped from his iced coffee. What was that? Shinso must be from another school to want to talk with me. Those eye bags are intense too. Is that black coffee he is drinking? How can people drink black coffee? It is way too bitter. Could it be part of his quirk? The eye bags and coffee could lead one to think maybe it is an insomnia type quirk. Maybe he can't sleep at all? A quirk related to sleep? In America, there is a underground hero who can take someone's restfulness by touching them. Those are some interesting thoughts. Do I say that out loud? Oh gosh. Izuku's face was bright red as he apologized to Shinso. He couldn't believe he did that. Shinso must be so mad and think he is a creep. I'm so sorry. Why you must be creeped out by my mumbling. Relax, Greenie. You know some interesting things though. I never heard about that American hero. The purplet put his coffee down as a little tabby started to come over and bat at his fluffy hair. I only found out about them by chance. I was on the right forum at the right time. It has since been taken down, of course. You see, underground heroes are, well, pretty hard to find info on. Which is a good thing. It's because they rely on being the unknown factor to surprise villains and take them down. Like Sandman, that's the American hero I mentioned, wouldn't be as effective if everyone knows her and could prepare for her with long-range weapons or quirks. Though, since she is mostly unknown, they aren't expecting her nor the sudden feeling of exhaustion. Underground heroes are amazing and oftentimes have super amazing quirks, usually a mental or non-physical. Like Cinder in Germany can only produce ash from her hands. Not even hot ash that can hurt people, but she is skilled with a boa staff that she pre-fills ash into and uses for misdirection and to block the villain's vision. The pole police always know who she takes down cause they are covered in ash and, wow, that is a lot of cats. While Izuku was talking, most of the cafe's cats ended up on Shinso. They were all over his lap, on the table in front of him, and the tabby from before had managed to balance themselves right on Shinsu's head. Was this his quirk? Cats were attracted to him? That sounds like a good quirk. If he could communicate with them, then that would be perfect for investigation and gathering information. Usually people ignore the stray cats that are around town, so they must see a lot of things. I wish I could talk to cats. That sounds amazing. But nah, that isn't my quirk. They just like me for some reason. I am sorry. I mumbled again. No problem, Greenie. Just speak up a little next time. You will be easier to hear than cause Tiger on top is currently purring up a storm right by my ear. What? Why you want to hear me? Izuku was flabbergasted. Only his mom never minded his mumbling, though he thinks she is just so used to it she accidentally ignores him by habit. Which isn't his fault at all. She does his best and loves him, but his mumbling is a bad habit. Last time the teacher caught him mumbling like this, he was sent to stand in the hallway holding buckets of water. His arms were sore for a little while after, and Kaken's friends dumped buckets on him when school ended. He had to walk home soaking wet. Luckily it was a nice, sunny day, so he didn't get too bad of a chill. Like I said, you know some interesting things. I just really like heroes and quirks. It's nothing special. Most people say it's creepy. Shinso shrugged as he wiggled his finger to entertain the cat in his lap. Most people are assholes. Purple Eyes looked up from the little tuxedo cat he was playing with and stared right at Izuku. That was the cutest thing I have ever heard. You squeaked. Shinso stared at Izuku for a good minute. It seems like he was trying to decide something. Then Shinso nodded his head and held out his hand. That's it, hand it over. Izuku tilted his head as he picked up Kuromi and held the cat out to the tired boy. Shinso snorted as he shook his head. He was wearing a slight smile, the first smile Izuku has seen on him, and seemed quite amused by the situation. No, Greenie. Not the cat but your phone. Hand over your phone. With Kuromi deposited back into his lap, Izuku took out his phone and passed it the other. And sent. Arthur. Shinso slid the phone back across the table. He picked up his iced coffee and took a sip of it. That's my number. I texted myself so I have yours too. Be prepared for a lot of memes at night. Insomnia's a bitch. See you later, Greenie. Eat your cake before Mimi sees it. She'll stuff her whole face into it. With that, Shinso smoothly moved himself out from under the kitty pile he was a part of, grabbed his iced coffee, and walked out of the cafe. With their human heater gone, the cats all scattered across the cafe to demand attention elsewhere or take a nap. Though, there is a gray one that stayed behind and is currently staring right at Izuku's cake. She is most likely Mimi, so he moved the cake closer to him and took a bite. It was delicious. He would also stuff his entire face into the cake. His mom always said he had a tooth as sweet as sugar. Do I have a friend now? Izuku asked the cat in his lap. Kuromi was kneading his thigh, though she did pause to look up at him with her bright green eyes. Meow. It has been a few months since Izuku started chemotherapy. While the first 2 times of the treatment didn't cause much of the side effects he was warned about, they were now starting to hit him. He was more exhausted than usual and was starting to physically feel weaker too. He couldn't lift much weight before, but he always prided himself on his endurance, especially when running and walking. When you have bullies chasing after you, you quickly learn how to push your limits and increase your stamina. He could run for a long period of time before and even was debating on signing up for half marathons for good causes. However, now he was having trouble going any further than his school. Also, sometimes he felt really sick, like he was going to throw up. When washing his hair, he noticed a little bit falling off too. Right now, his hair is thick enough that no one could really tell. To be honest, as narcissistic as it sounds, he was really worried about losing his hair. A couple of kids from school have been eagerly waiting for it. They told him when his head is nice and shiny they brought plungers to stick on him. Things weren't going too well. He wasn't going to let that stop him though. For the first time in years, Izuku was heading out to hang out with a friend. His mom was worried though. She tried to have him stay home in case he felt bad, but he can't just sit around and not meet the one friend he has. After their first meeting, Izuku was sure Shinso was kidding when he said that he'll stay in contact. That was a joke at school for a bit. Some of the quieter kids would pretend to be his friend for a little bit only to betray him and joke with everyone on how pathetic he was for even thinking they would be friends with a quirkless loser. Turns out he was wrong because that very night he was sent an onslaught of cat memes. Shinso was also very serious when he said he had insomnia. Izuku would get messages in the middle of the night. The first time he slept through them, Shinso told him not to worry about it. He texted, quote-unquote, "Just 'cause I can't sleep doesn't mean you can't." Sending memes is a good way to pass time. Plus, it makes the night go faster. Enjoy your sleep, Greenie, you need it. You are short enough as it is. Shinso was a sarcastic guy who enjoyed cats, coffee, memes and puns, or as he put it, the finer things in life. He didn't talk about his quirk or family, but he did mention how he liked to spend time at the library, parks, and when he had the money, cat cafes. His favorite types of books to read are historical nonfiction because people haven't changed. We have always been dumbass, and that amuses me. Also, he knows the weirdest fact from being on the internet at night due to a lack of sleep. Just a few nights ago, Izuku gets a text that says, in 1788 Austrian troops faced off in a battle against another and 10,000 men were killed. Afterwards they realized that the other army was also Austrian. Austria faced itself and lost. Drop AF in the chat. The two decided to meet at Perfect Pastries and then wander around the nearby mall. The cafe was a little farther than his school, plus the walking afterwards might hurt him, but Izuku was sure it would be all fine. It isn't the first time he has pushed himself, and it won't be the last. He'll just arrive at the cafe earlier to get a longer rest. With a plan like that, today should go swimmingly. By the time Izuku made it to the cafe, he was a little out of breath, but he still had 30 minutes until Shinso was supposed to arrive. Or at least he was supposed to. Greenie, over here. At the table back where they first met was Shinso chilling with the cats. He had an empty cup of what used to be iced coffee next to him. It looked like he was here for a while since the cup was practically empty. Shinso? WH, what are you doing here so early? There goes his plan. I could ask you the same thing. Well, in my case it is best to stay out of the house. You? Well, there was no way he could tell Shinso he arrived early to rest a bit. That would be so embarrassing. It is odd enough that Shinso wants to be friends with him in the first place, so there is no reason to make the purplet not like him. What could he say? Sorry, I'm weak and sick. That would not go well. For all his luck, Shinso would start laughing at him for being too weak and useless to live properly. Everyone else already does. Being sick and being quirkless are the two things that Shinso must not ever know. However, he had no clue what excuse to give. Right when he took his seat, Kuromi came up to him and jumped right in his lap. She even gave him a little yowl like she was scolding him for taking a few weeks to see her again. I just wanted to see Kuromi. Yeah, that is why I came early. I feel that. Shinso was currently petting one cat that was sprawled out over his lap. These little fluff butts are so fucking cute that it is hard to stay away. Kuromi in particular seems to adore you. Did you rub catnip all over yourself before you came here or what? No. I'm not sure why she likes me, but I like her too. PL plus you can't say anything. You are so surrounded by kitties. And the purple boy was indeed once again surrounded by cats. Just like last time, a lot of the cafe's cats ended up sleeping on the tired boy. Did he just ooze a sleepy aura? Was that his quirk? Maybe he is like the R-rated hero Midnight? Looking at his eye bags did make Izuku himself tired, but to be honest he is always a little tired lately. Sorry Greenie, not my quirk. Yes, you were mumbling but don't worry about it. You're interesting. Honestly, I think the cat's just like a positive touch. I asked about the cats here one time. You know how they are all rescues, right? Like for example, Kuromi was with a nice old lady before. What sucks though is that the old lady got very sick and died. Her family didn't want the cat and literally kicked Kuromi to the curb. Luckily, a nice neighbor saw Kuromi around a few months after the family took everything and left. Then she ended up here. Oh, poor kitty. They were so mean to you, Kuromi. Izuku, due to the amazing Midoriya genes, started to cry a fountain of tears and hugged Kuromi close to his chest. Jesus, that's a lot of tears. Is that your quirk, super tears or something? Shinso had one eyebrow raised as he watched his friend cry and hug a cat. At first, he was prepared to try and gently wrestle Kuromi away because most cats do not like being smothered like that in a tight grip. However, Kuromi seems to like the attention if the purr he could hear over the rivers of tears means anything. My quick is well? That comment instantly snapped Izuku out of his train of thought. What should he tell him? He wasn't a good liar and he couldn't pull off suave and cool like Shinso. Would this cause Shinso to stop being his, dare he say it, friend? Midoriya. That snapped Izuku back into focus since that was the first time Shinso called Izuku by his name. Normally it was Greenie or sometimes even Fluff. You don't have to tell me anything about your quirk. Hell, I would be a hypocrite if I demanded to know since I haven't told you mine either. Just listen. I understand not liking your own quirk or stuff like that, so yeah. Don't worry about telling me anything you aren't comfortable with, okay? Just relax and don't worry, alright? Shinso wasn't much for giving speeches, let alone heartfelt ones. That much was clear. Through their brief friendship. He was a more sarcastic one-liner kind of guy. Still, he tried to cheer Izuku up, and that means so much more than the tired boy will even know. Shinsu, and the tears started to well up in his eyes once again. Izuku, still holding Kuromi to his chest, was so moved by Shinsu's little speech that he was trying not to cry. No one ever didn't ask about his quirk or make a big deal not knowing. He tried to hide it at first a few times when he met new people, but no one ever not pushed the issue. Shinso really was so amazing and cool. Ah geez, here comes the waterworks. Go get something to drink too, okay? We can't let you dehydrate yourself. We just started hanging for the day. Kuromi agrees with me, right girl? Meow. After Izuku drank some water under Shinsu's watchful gaze, he gave a heartfelt goodbye to Kuromi. It was hard to leave the cafe though. The sad kitty eyes Kuromi gave him almost broke his heart. Still, the two left the cafe and made their way to the local mall. On the walk over the two were chatting and trying to figure out what stores to hit and what they wanted to see. Anything you are looking for, Greenie? Shinso even walks cool with his hands in his hoodie pocket and a slight slouch. Though, even with his slouching he was still taller than Izuku. Maybe some new notebooks and pencils? I like taking notes and stuff, so if we could stop by the stationery store, that would be really nice. We can definitely do that for sure. I think it is on the 3rd floor. What about you, Shinso? And anything you want? Well, Shinso took his right hand out of his pocket and started to rub the back of his neck. His ears were slightly red too. Was rubbing his neck an action of embarrassment? My funds are a little low to be honest, so I don't plan on getting anything. Should we do something else? We don't need to go to the ST stationery store. I don't want to waste you time. Don't worry about it, Greenie. We can just walk around and hang. This is to chill with each other, not buy everything in the mall. You really are so nice, Shinso. He really was lucky to have a friend who was as kind and relaxed as Shinso. He really missed having a friend. Kaken hasn't talked to him without yelling in a long time. What would have happened if Kaken was still his friend? Would he and Shinso get along? Well, if he continued to stay nice, then he was sure Kaken would come around sooner or later. He just takes after Aunt Mitsuki, so all Izuku needs to be patient, just like his mom was for Auntie, and the three of them will be friends in no time. Ah, shitcakes, Shinsu's voice cut through his train of thought. The elevators are out of order. The escalators are on the other side of the mall. Well, let's roll. The elevators were not working? The stationery store was right next to it on the 3rd floor. Now they would have to walk across the mall to get to the escalators, only to walk back this direction to get to the store. That was a long walk. Would he be okay? When they got to the other side, Izuku was already a tad out of breath, but he could regain it on the escalator. You don't have to move much for that. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Well, fucking potatoes, the escalators are out too. Is anything working here? Like really, what is going on? And there goes his plans once again. Now he was going to have to walk up 2 sets of stairs. Well, let's roll. 1 step, 2 steps. Onto the 10th and so on. They reached the landing. Finally. Greenie? Fluff? You okay? Shinso did notice that Midoriya seemed to be having trouble with the stairs, but he wasn't sure what to do. Actually, he noticed that when Izuku walked into the Cake Cafe today, Mito was a bit paler than the first time they met a few weeks ago. He even had dark circles under his eyes, making him look even paler. Greenie didn't look so well. Should they not go further? Should he turn them around? He doesn't want to be demanding though, and feels like he was giving Izuku orders. It is a miracle that a sweet kid like Midoriya wants to be his friend. When Midoriya gave him a nod that he was fine, they continued on to the next floor. Shinso made sure to stand a bit behind the greenette though, just in case he falls. Upwards they went. 1 step, 2 steps. Onto the 10th and so on. They reached the 3rd floor. Izuku's legs were wobbling slightly. He was out of breath and clutching his chest. His head hurt and he felt weak. When did stairs become so hard? Why was he so weak? Sure, he had cancer and was getting chemotherapy, but he doesn't want to be weak. He doesn't want to be a weak Deku. Mito? Anything I can do to help? Want water? Shinso was still here. He sees how weak he is. This was a disaster. The familiar feeling of blood trickling down his nose causes Shinso to gasp. Bunch of fucking peas. Okay, so not okay. Got it. What to do? The bathrooms are right over there. Come on, lean on me. The purple boy gently grabbed his hand and led the way to the bathroom. Luckily it was empty and there was even a little chair in the corner that he helped Izuku sit in. Alright, sit there. Paper towels. Yeah, that would be helpful. Hang on. Shinso grabbed some of the paper that was for drying hands and rushed over back to Izuku. He kneeled on the ground, on the dirty bathroom ground, and gently dabbed and whipped the blood off of Izuku's face and neck. The shirt should be fine. I know some good ways to get blood out of stuff. How's your breathing? Wait, don't answer, just relax till you catch your breath. Are you crying? No more tears. These are different tears than before. Shitbeans. Where is Kuromi when you need her? Want to hold my arm? With one hand still holding the paper towel to the bleeding nose, Shinso offered up his other hand to be grabbed and held tight to replace where the fluffy black cat was earlier today. Despite the fact that Shinso was confused and very worried, he was still doing his best to help. Izuku was just so moved by his kindness. Only his mom and the hospital staff were concerned for him. However, he felt horrible because he was also deceiving Shinosu. If the super cool Shinso knew the truth about how Izuku is a biological mistake, he wouldn't be so nice. Yo, you are nice. So nice to a weak Deku. I'm so sorry. What are you talking about? Deku? Shinso grabbed another paper towel and started to dry his friend's tears. Aye, and Izuku broke and blurted out what everyone has been telling him for months. I'm a dying, quirkless Deku who can't even live right. What? Did he just hear that right? Was his green fluff friend, dying? Hitoshi was at a loss for words. Today was supposed to be a fun day hanging out with his only friend. It wasn't until they got to the mall itself did things take a downturn. First, the elevator was out of order, which is just great and not an inconvenience at all. Then the other escalators were out of order too. Hitoshi knows he should be working out and all to prepare for his future of heroing, but come on. Today was relaxed day and screw him for not wanting to climb up a whole bunch of stairs. Well, most days were relaxation days. Though, to be fair, between the wonderful gift of insomnia that the sleep gods have blessed him with and the amount of food his wonderful caregivers give him, he is usually very low on energy. It's hard to work out with zero sleep and a rumbling stomach. Still, while stairs are the bane of his existence, or one of them, he has many, he can do them, so up they went. Greenie wasn't looking too good at the end of the first flight of stairs though. He was a pale Greenie and was out of breath. Does he have asthma? He said he was fine though, so up they went. Then came the blood and coughing and declaration that his friend is dying. What? Everything escalated so quickly despite the fact the escalator isn't even working. Fluff? Did you say that you are dying? Hitoshi spoke the last word in a harsh whisper. He had to say it, but he did not want to. To think that his friend, his only friend. I am sorry. What? Why are you apologizing? For what? See, 'cause I didn't tell you the truth, I wasted your tea time. Wasting my time? Fuck that. You wasted nothing. I chose to spend my time being your friend and sending you memes. You're my friend. You, Greenie, Fluff, Cinnamon Bunny Boy, are my friend. But I'm a quirkless dying Deku. Quirkless schmirkless, who cares? As for Deku, that is a shitty nickname and I refuse to let you call yourself that. Honestly, the only part one care about is the dying part. What is going on? What's wrong? What? Greenie was looking at him with those bright green eyes. Seriously, they are so bright and innocent they could light up a whole city on a moonless night. Why was he looking at him with disbelief? Did he have something in his teeth? Was it because he said Deku was a shitty name? It was, but maybe he could have said that more delicately. Useless is not a good nickname. Useless, quirkless, oh hi. Listen, I don't care that you are quirkless. I would be hypocritical if I care about quirks. I'm not going to stop caring for you 'cause you can't change your hair color or can't fart bubbles out your butt. There is that smile. If his eyes can light up a city, then that smile can light up the universe. Also, that giggle, priceless. Quirks are not everything and you are more than them, or more than your lack of one. You are a smart green fluff who makes Kuromi a very happy kitty, and makes me happy too. Like I said, I only care about the dying part. What's going on? You really care? Even though I have a BR brain tumor. I'm on chemo for it. So I'm being treated. The next few sentences were mumbled that Hitoshi was pretty sure Greenie didn't mean for him to hear. Everyone says I should just die then waste resources and oxygen. Well shit. What more could he say to that? If his only friend is sick and hurting and that sucks. It also seems like his friend is also bullied. Hitoshi looked down at his friend, the fluff is tiny, and saw the sad but resigned look on his face. If you don't want tea to be friends anymore, you don't have to spend your tea time with me. It won't be fair to spend your time with someone who is limited and a waste of stuff. How is he going to respond to that? Well, the best way he knows how, by giving Greenie a good, gentle, bonk upside the head. Blood is clean, so no more saying stupid things. If you are being you, then you are not a waste. Speaking of waste though, let's get out of the bathroom. I'm pretty sure whoever was in the stall in the corner over there never learned to flush properly and I am sick of smelling shit. Now, we are going to go to the stationery store, and before you ask, I can't care if we need to walk slow or whatever, and then we will find a nice bench and talk, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's what friends do and we are friends whether you like it or not. You are stuck with me now, Greenie, good luck. Throughout his little speech, Hitoshi threw away the bloody paper towels, washed his hands, helped his friend stand, grabbed his hand, and out of the bathroom they went. You're the best, Shins. And you better remember it, Greenie. The two walked at a slow pace. The stationery store was on the other side, but there was no rush. His hand is warm, brain tumor is pretty serious. I'm glad that he is already getting treatment for it. Well, no matter what, Greenie has made his way into my heart, so I'll stay by his side for as long as he lets me. I just hope he doesn't ask about my quirk. Hey Shinso? What is your quirk? I haven't guessed right, and it sounds like you have it hard too from what you said earlier. Shitty piles of pumpkin puree on top of Pie Mountain. Let's get to the store first. Then when we find a bench I can tell you. Please stay my friend. I know my quirk is villainous, but please stay my friend. After the journey over the river out of order machines and through the woods of the mall, the two finally got to the stationery store. It is your basic store that has every kind of paper, pens, etc. that anyone would need. Okay, what you looking for, Greenie? Some new notebooks would be nice. Where are my usual ones? Midoriya made his way to the aisle full of notebooks and binders and was looking around. What do you write in them? Need it for school? Hitoshi was looking at a binder with cute cats on it. That one looks like Tiger. And there is Mimi too. Oh yeah, that black one looks sassy, a total Kuromi. I know it is nerdy and creepy, but I love quirks and writing them. I like to analyze quirks, heroes mainly, but also classmates. And I would love to learn yours. I'm sure it is a good quirk. All quirks are good quirks, oh of course. Hehe, except for the bubble butt example, hehe, though I'm sure it has its uses. There they are. For the next minute, Hitoshi enjoyed the amusing sight of Greenie trying to reach his preferred notebooks that are on top of the tall shelf. Even with the boy on tippy toes with one leg in the air, he was just a smidgen too short. Need a hand? Or a stool? Don't be meanie. And that pout is also adorable. Is everything about his friend adorable? If Greenie himself didn't tell him he was quirkless, Hitoshi would have been positive that Midoriya has a cuteness quirk or something like that. He has seen so many things on the internet, yet Greenie is like eye bleach to all of that. Heh, don't worry your fluffy head off, I gotcha. With that, Hitoshi straightened his slouch, leaned on his toes, and grabbed a few of the elusive notebooks for his shorter friend. Here you go, a couple of notebooks for the fluff coming right up. Thank you. Eye bleach, what beautiful eye bleach. His soul is clean, his conscience is clear, his car is washed, and his hotel is Trivago. Want anything else? Greenie shook his head no and clutched his notebooks to his chest. Alright, let's blow this popsicle stand. Go buy stuff and then we can find a nice place to relax. Think they have cheap coffee around here? I am always down for cheap coffee. Sure, it tastes like shit most of the time, but coffee is the elixir of life and half the reason I am sane. The other half are mainly the knowledge that there are cats in the world that I haven't pet. Well, that and I have a dream. Normally Hitoshi is a man of few words, but Greenie seems to like it when he talks. It is probably because it gives him a moment to collect his thoughts, or perhaps just reminds him that Hitoshi is there and not leaving. Either way, if making a few random comments here or there helps his friend, who has had a few crying episodes already today, note to self, water the Greenie, then he will go ahead and talk. A dream? Greenie was at the counter now handing the cashier his cash. He turned down the offer of the bag though. Once they left the entrance of the store and were more off to the side, Greenie took off his backpack and put the notebooks in there directly. Well, I want to be a hero. Me too. There was the energetic fluff that he knows and loves. That's one of the main reasons why I analyze quirks. Well, also because quirks are really cool and amazing. Each and every one are interesting but I analyze to help my future. Since I'm quirkless, I need all the advantages I can get on a battlefield or to prove myself. If I can analyze quirks, I can figure out how to make someone down. Also, I can help other heroes improve, and by constantly testing my brain and analyzing situations, I can hopefully respond fast in a rescue situation or something like that. I want to be a hero, just like All Might. That way, when people see me smile, they know that they are safe because I am there. You'll be a great hero. I know you will be. We need more smart heroes. Did you see the up-and-coming Hero Hawk's YouTube compilation? I think Hawk is amazing. He uses his quirk in such versatile ways, from fighting with blade feathers to rescuing, since each feather seems to be able to carry a whole person. Also, a theory of mine is that Hawks is able to gather intel from his feathers. In one example, when he was fighting Smashius, the strong man villain, a building was about to collapse. Hawks spread his feathers out to move nearby people out of the way. But if you look closely, because the camera is focused more on the fight, one feather pauses for just a second. After that pause, that feather redirected itself to behind a dumpster to grab a kitty. A moment later, the BU building collapsed and the dumpster was crushed. The cat was not visible from where he was, so Hawks couldn't have used his amazing eyesight to see the cat. Plus, with everyone screaming, the noise of the building falling, and the villain monologuing, which is stupid cause it buys the heroes more time, there is no way Hawks could hear the kitty, unless he can hear through his feathers. Well, maybe hear is the wrong word. His feathers don't have ears. Vibrations? That makes more sense? Damn Greenie. I was just talking about the compilation of Hawks flying into stuff. Guess I got to give the old bird more credit. The two friends found an unoccupied bench by the old vending machines. The old vending machine also did not update their prices, so Shinso lucked out and got his cheap coffee. So, my quirk, any last quest? Gosh, it is differently an emitter quirk. I am leaning towards a mental quirk as well, since most with men mental quirks have sleep disorders. Nothing you do or say leads me to any conclusion. I'm not too sure. How about a hint? Yes, Pilly Dash, and the green eyes went dull and glazed. Best to rip it off like a band-aid. This is my quirk. I'll release you in a second, then you can run away and delete my number. I'll understand. One last thing before I do that. Hitoshi held out his hand to the other. Hold my hand. Robotically, Midoriya placed his hand into Jitoshi's awaiting one. His hand is warm. A quick squeeze and Hitoshi lets go of the hand and released his quirk. He wasn't running away, but he isn't moving. He must be scared. I don't blame. Brainwashing. That's amazing. That's a perfect quirk for a hero. Hitoshi.exe is currently out of order, just like the elevators. Please come back in a minute, or better yet, pour coffee into the mouth. What? Shinso? Greenie was looking at him with bright eyes and an even brighter smile. He was so excited and elated because Hitoshi has a villain's, he said, hero quirk. That makes no sense? What was going on? Brainwashing. Verbal response based, right? You have amazing control for not activating it at all throughout all of our conversations. I sometimes see Mom accidentally activate her quirk, and she has had decades more of experience in quirk control than you. What type of responses work? Would sounds like a laugh or a grunt work? Does it have to be in a language you understand? What about songs? If someone sings a response to you, does it work? Does it work through devices like a phone or radio? If you hide the trigger, or if the trigger is broader than we expected, you will be the Prefect Underground hero. No, not that you couldn't be in the limelight. But the obvious weakness I see is once someone knows your quirk, then they can just not respond to you. Yeah, underground is where your quirk will work best. Hitoshi was overwhelmed. Even drinking the coffee didn't help. Greenie was saying that he was hero material. Flood was saying that his quirk is perfect for heroic. His quirk? Hero? Villain? What? Hitoshi.exe has exceeded the amount of confusion limits for the moment. Initiating maneuver to let Hitoshi.exe have a moment of silence to reboot due to an onslaught of praise. Hitoshi raised his hand and placed it over the Greeneat's mouth. Alright, my brain caught up, you aren't afraid. I have a villain's quirk? Villain? Bad scary men. Greenie tilted his head in confusion, but didn't respond. Oh right, my hand. Sorry. I needed a moment to think, and that's all I could think of doing. Sorry. No problem. Why, you aren't the first to do that. But, you do not have a villain's quirk. You have a quirk. That's it. A quirk is a quirk. It is, as someone amazing once told me, quirks are a tool. It is what you do with it that matters. So, if you become a hero, then it is a hero's quirk. Ha, it's that simple? All along? If it was that simple, why have I been hurt so much? While Hitoshi was lost in thought, Tears welled up in his eyes. If he didn't have a villain's quirk, why did everyone treat him like one? I am sure you could tell, but, people haven't always been the nicest when I tell them my quirk status. Since you are saying you have a villain's quirk, which you don't, then people must have bullied you too. I understand, and why you're feeling are valid. Your experience is valid. It sucks. It sucks to be hurt by everyone, but you are valid. And I'm here for you, Shinso. Hitoshi looked over and saw that Izuku Midoriya was giving him a smile. It was small and a bit sad, but it was a smile and it did make Hitoshi feel better, because he has a friend, and his friend is here. Hitoshi. Call me Hitoshi, Greenie. Then you can call me Izuku? Huh, maybe Greenie, maybe. Well then, I'll give you a nickname too. Hichin? Hido-kun? Toshie. When people see me smile, they know that they are safe, because I am there. Well, Izuku. You are already on your way to your goal. You're smiling at me and I know everything will be okay. Today did have a bit of a downturn, but all in all Hitoshi thought his first time hanging out with a friend went well. Too bad the mall didn't stay quiet. There was a crash and screaming from the first floor. Here I am, world. As the start of my villain career, I'm going to knock this mall to the fucking ground. Ha! A villain, a real live villain was here in the mall and apparently about to cause mayhem and destruction. What are the odds that this would happen today of all days? Fucking rainbows and all that shit, are you serious? Is this happening? Really? Today of all days? Seems like Hitoshi agrees with Izuku's sentiments. 2 stories below, as the friends got up from their bench, they heard people screaming and glass breaking. Seems like the villain was on the first floor, but all the exits to leave the mall were there too. It was pure chaos everywhere inside the mall. The first floor was obviously a mess as people were running to the exit as the villain broke everything in sight. Everyone on the second and third were running to get to the ground level to get outside and leave. People were rushing past them to get to the nearby staircase. Merchandise and shopping bags were being flung in all directions, and crazy laughter could be heard throughout the mall over the screams of citizens. Move it, kid! A portly man rushed towards Izuku and shoved him aside in order to reach the staircase faster. The green hair boy landed face down on the ground with a sickening crunch. Hitoshi immediately went to his friend and pulled him up just in time before he was stepped on by a high-heeled lady in red swinging her handbag at everyone. With Izuku held tightly to his chest, Hitoshi hurried towards the old vending machines where they were out of the way of the stampede. Grilled Jesus almighty, people are dicks. Are you okay? That fall sounded bad. The purplet turned his friend to face him. The shorter boy's freckles were covered in a splatter of blood as his now crooked nose gushed. Geez, right when we got your face clean of all that blood from earlier. Never mind that. We have to move. Toshi. A huge crash came from downstairs and the building shook a bit too much for comfort. We can't stay up here. The building is already shaking. If the wrong wall breaks, then this whole place will fall. Then let's move. Come on, Greenie. While holding his friend's hand tight, Hitoshi led them both to the staircase. Most of the people were already a floor down and still moving, so it was clear for the two to go down. They moved as fast as Izuku could, but with his coughing fit earlier and the loss of blood from his previous nosebleed and his now broken nose, Izuku was quickly running out of steam. They just reached the landing on the second floor when Izuku tripped on the last step and fell to his knees, causing them to stop in the tracks. He was gasping for breath. Hitoshi. Hago. Move without me. No way in hell. I'm not leaving you. Hitoshi tightens his grip on the other's hand. I'm holding you back. Hurry, please. Go to safety. Izuku was trying to pull his hand away from the other. His nose was still gushing blood and he was becoming pale. Like hell I am. Hitoshi fell to his knees with his back towards Izuku, grabbed his other hand and pulled. Now, while being tall for his age, Hitoshi did not have any muscle mass on him. Still though, he gathered all his strength and hoisted his friend on his back. He stood up, only wobbling slightly. Wrap your arms around my neck. I got your legs and we are getting out of here, Greenie. I promise. Tears were gathering at the corner of bright green eyes. Toshi. Izuku hugged his friend tightly. A blooming laugh broke the touching moment of friendship. Rounding the corner was the villain. His whole back and hands looked like they were made of rocks, and each fist was the size of an average adult's head. The villain was just casually strolling along as he punched the walls and glass windows of the stores. He seemed to be having a grand old time in comparison to everyone else in the mall. He picked up a nearby trash can and threw it at some people running for the exit. It barely missed them. Ah shit. I missed. Can you believe it? Ha. Hitoshi stayed close to the railing furthest away from the villain as he moved down the stairs. The last thing he wanted was for the villain to spot them. With Greenie on his back, he can't run very fast, and if something was thrown at them, he would have a hard time dodging. Unfortunately, luck was not on their side. The friends were on the last few steps when the villain noticed them. Looky here. Seems like I have more targets to practice with. I won't miss this time. The villain picked up a whole bench and was about to hurl it at them when a voice from behind called out. I hear it's your villain debut, huh? Well, no debut is complete without a fight with a hero, so let's get it started. The villain immediately whirled around and pitched the bench towards the voice, but a red blur dodged it. Standing before the Rocky Man was none other than the current number 9 hero, Hawks. You think a puny bird like yourself can beat me? I'm Landslide and I will roll right over you. Landslide curled himself up in a huge ball and sped towards Hawks, who just flew into the air dodging the attack. Oh no, a rolling stone. Good thing this bird can fly. Before Izuku and Hitoshi could watch the fight further, they were pulled into the air by the back of their shirts by a red feather and quickly flown towards where the police were securing the area and the paramedics were treating anyone injured outside of the mall. Did you see that? Toshi. That was H-Hawks. The Hawks. Izuku was practically vibrating in the air due to his excitement of seeing an amazing hero in the flesh. And H's feather. Oh my gosh, we are being carried by H's feather. His feather. Yeah, I see that, though I can't believe the pigeon appeared. We were just talking about him too. Once outside, the feathers gently dropped them off before flying back inside. I have 2 more over here. A police officer jogged up to them. All right, let's get you 2 checked over, all right? He led them to the nearby empty ambulance. Izuku was a bit unsteady, and the office gently supported him. Poor kid, looks like you had a nasty run-in with something. We also need to call your parents. Do you know their numbers? Both boys gave the policeman phone numbers, and he stepped away to make a few calls as the paramedics took over. Hitoshi was unharmed, but it turns out Izuku did have a broken nose. Luckily, one of the paramedics has a quirk that lets them use the calcium in their body to heal and strengthen the bones of the person they are touching. After that, the policeman from early returned to say both guardians have been contacted and should arrive soon, but they still need their statement before they go. By that time, news that the fight had finished reached the civilians. Hawks was able to knock the man out with the blunt side of his feather swords. While his back and hands were rock, his head was left vulnerable when not in boulder form. Hitoshi went first and talked about how the 2 of them were relaxing on a bench on the 3rd floor when all of this occurred. The purple-haired boy did make sure to give the officer a clear description of the middle-aged man that pushed Izuku over and caused him to break his nose. Izuku then gave his statement, which matched Hitoshi's, and right when Izuku finished his statement, his mother was led over to him by a different officer. Izuku, my baby, are you all right? Inko Midoriya rushed past both officers to hug her boy tightly, all while crying practically a fountain of tears. Feeling safe in his mother's arms, Izuku also burst into tears. The reality of what just happened finally hit him. So, the waterworks run in the Greenie family. Should I start carrying around water bottles now? Hitoshi's comment drew Inko's attention. She whipped her tears and, while still hugging her son, smiled and gave a slight bow to Hitoshi. You must be Shinsuke-kun. Oh, it is so nice to meet a friend of Izuku's, though I wish it was in better circumstances. Now that she had eyes and hands on Izuku, Inko was calming down. An already healed broken nose is nothing compared to what could have happened. Yeah, a villain attack is not the best place. Sorry for dragging your son into all this. Hitoshi. Izuku was still crying a bit, but managed to give his friend a bright smile. Why, you saved me. He pulled me from the ground and T&C carried me down a whole flight of stairs when I couldn't run anymore. Inko gasped and then quickly drew Hitoshi into the Midoriya family hug. The Greenettes were back to crying again and Hitoshi was right in the middle. Although he will forever deny it, his eyes were watering a bit too and he hugged the Greenie family back. After everyone calmed down, Izuku got the all clear to go with the reminder to drink plenty of water and juice to help with the minor blood loss. Why you want me to wait with you, Hitoshi? Izuku was looking up at his friend. Due to policy, Hitoshi's guardians themselves must pick up Hitoshi from the scene before he could be allowed to leave. Nah, don't worry about it, sorry that today turned out to be kinda crappy. Not what I expected a friend's hangout to be like. Hitoshi looked very tired as he rubbed the back of his neck in embarrassment. Well then we just have to hang out some more to counterbalance with a fun, normal and not full of danger hangout. With a big smile Izuku hugged his taller friend goodbye with the promise to text later and left with his mom to head home. I saw Hawk's mom. I have so many endnotes to add to my notebook. He is so cool and amazing. His feathers were able to lift me with no issues. What do you think the weight limit is? I'll have to watch more videos on him. The whole slow walk home Izuku was gushing about Hawks while Inko kept on smiling and thanking the stars her boy was alright. After almost 2 hours since the police officer originally called his guardians, Mrs. Tanaka finally arrived to pick up Hitoshi. She gave the police officer some sob story of how despite the news her boss refused to let her leave due to the fact he overheard and knew Hitoshi was completely fine. After thanking the police and the paramedic team for their hard work, Mrs. Tanaka led Hitoshi to her car and practically shoved him in the back seat before getting in herself and driving away. You are seriously the worst foster kid I've ever had to take in. You cause nothing but trouble. Not only are you always causing problems at school now why didn't you just go ahead and join that villain when you had the chance? It would make my life so much fucking easier, and being a villain is all you are good for with that fucking quirk of yours. It was so annoying to drive all the way to the mall to pick you up after work. I would have already been home by now if it wasn't for you. No dinner for you tonight, you little shitstain. I expect you to go to your room and not make a single noise for the rest of the week, got it? It has been about a week since the mall incident, and Izuku has not heard from Hitoshi at all. Usually they would message a bit throughout the day, so Izuku was a bit concerned. Well, a bit might be an understatement, but he has his reasons to be worried. He hasn't even received a single message in the late hours of the night all week. Not one cat meme. This was highly unlikely because ever since they exchanged numbers, Izuku would at least receive 3 cat memes a day. Due to the lack of communication with his only friend, Izuku has been down. The mall was a disaster, so maybe he doesn't want anything to do with me. I did hide things from him also. But he didn't react negatively. Toshi even cheered me up and he saved me. Still, I hope he messages me back soon. Do you think he hates me? Izuku was in the hospital receiving his chemo treatment for the week. He was getting his chemo with the 4 rather than the pills. Luckily, he did not take after his mom and his veins were easy to get to on the inside of his elbow. His mom always complained how her veins were so small that whenever she had to get blood work done, they ended up taking the blood from her hand. Speaking of, his mom was sitting beside him as she was playing one of her phone app games. The hospital allows one person with the patient while they are in the room getting the chemo treatment, as long as they take the necessary precautions, such as wearing gloves and masks. Oh baby, I'm sure that isn't the case. She put down her phone and gave her son her full attention. What you guys went through was very scary, and little Hitoshi seems like such a shy boy. I bet he just wants a little time alone to get his thoughts straight about the whole thing. People react to things differently to scary situations. Why yeah, I hope you're right, Mom. I really do hope you are right. Don't worry, you two will be back to messaging each other all the time soon enough. Don't forget to sleep at night though. If I see you on your phone too late, I'll take it away from you until morning. You need your sleep as a growing boy. Izuku chuckled at his mother's worry. Hee, you should be telling Toshi that, Mom. I got to sleep at a reasonable time. He's the one sending me memes at 3 a.m. That boy does have a pair of eye bags on him. Mitsuki gave me some nice eye cream the other day. Maybe your friend would like some too? He called his eye bags Gucci one tea time, Mom. It is part of his charm at this point. Speaking of how is Auntie Mitsuki? The mother and son pair spent the next few hours talking about the Bakugas. Mitsuki has apparently already created a few hats for him to wear, all in green apparently. Inko said she is particularly fond of the cat-eared one, but apparently the one with a leaf on it is also very adorable. Izuku's hair has been thinning out. As superficial as it is, Izuku has lost his love for showing since there is always more hair going down the drain than the last time. His hair connects him to his mom. Also, Toshi calls him Greenie. Without his green hair, he won't be Greenie anymore. That is, if Toshi ever contact him again. He doesn't want to go down that train of thoughts right now, so back to the Bakugas. Uncle Masaru has been working on the new fashion line. This one theme is seeming to rotate around hats and other accessories that they designed with complementary outfits rather than the usual other way around. Masaru has given Inko his famous chocolate chip and raspberry muffin recipe because he knows how much Izuku loves them fresh out of the oven. While Auntie Mitsuki was a great cook, not as good as his mom of course, Uncle Masaru was the baker. When he asked how he was so good at baking and Auntie wasn't, Uncle Masaru laughed and explained how baking takes patience and precise measurements. That doesn't fit Auntie's personality or skill. Cooking on the other hand can be impulsive and still turn out tasty. Based on what Auntie has said, Inko told her son that Katsuki has been a little quiet lately. Which, now that Izuku thinks about it, is true. Usually Kaken leads the class and starts the bullying, but lately he hasn't been using his quirk on Izuku. Maybe they will be friends again soon. Izuku knew that being a good friend would cause Kaken to return to being his friend again. He can't wait to introduce Kaken to Toshi. Both are such great people and will surely be great friends too. That way, when they both get into UA, they already have a friend there which will make school easier. Kaken and Toshi will definitely be amazing heroes and UA will help them achieve that. After another hour, the chemotherapy treatment for today was completed. Izuku and his mom headed out of the hospital. Ever since the first day he met Eraserhead at the hospital, Izuku makes sure to look all around though as they were leaving, just in case. He has his backpack with him and his notes, and there was no way he would miss another chance to ask a hero for their autograph. Inko just chuckled at her son's antics as he peeked around another hallway corridor. He was such a precious boy and she loved him so much. Inko has also taken the habit of carrying around a small pocket notebook and a pen in her purse too just in case. It would make her boy so happy to have an autograph. Right when they exited the hospital doors, Izuku's phone went off. While his ringtone for incoming calls was the original All Might cartoon theme song, his message tone was a cat meowing. It was supposed to be All Might saying, "I am here," but he lent Toshi his phone for a few minutes at the cafe before they headed to the mall, and then this happened. He gasped and quickly took it out of his pocket while almost dropping it in the process because only one person besides his mom ever messages him. Mom, it's Toshi. Purple and green chat. Purple, hey Greenie. Sorry for not texting sooner. Got caught up with stuff at house. Green, Toshi. Laughing face. I'm so glad to hear from you again. Are you okay? Last week was crazy. Purple, oh yeah, crazy is understatement. I'm at cafe right now. Time? Izuku tugged on his mom's sleeve while he gazed down at his phone. See can I go hang out with T Toshi? He is at T the Catzy Cafe. Inko was a bit worried. Her baby just got treatment which makes him a bit more tired than usual. Also, at the last hangout there was a villain fight where he got hurt. Not that she would ever blame either boy for the latter reason, but she can't help her nerves existing. She was about to turn down her boy's request and suggest they meet up another day, but then Izuku looked up at her with his big puppy eyes. Oh, she was so weak to them. Though, she doubts there is a person alive who wouldn't be. Alright, you can go. But I'm walking you there and then back home. Izuku gave her one of his blinding smiles as he hugged her close. Thanks mom. Why you're the best. Purple and green chat. Green, I'll be there soon. Oh, asterisk. Oh, alright, I'll probably head home and do some cleaning and dinner prepping. So, I'll be back in, how about 3 hours? Give you and little Hitoshi time to talk. I'm one phone call away if you get too tired, okay? Call or a text will do just fine too. Inko and Izuku were in front of Perfect Pastries. She was handing him a couple of bills. Don't spoil your dinner, and go ahead and treat Hitoshi to something if he wants anything, alright? Let me see, how is your phone? Is it charged enough? Do you have your charger with you in case it's low? Oh, I'll be fine. Izuku was blushing a bit as his mother fretted over him. I've been here a couple of time and it will be fine. Oh, I just worry, Zuka baby. You know me, a born worrier. At his little pout she relented. Alright, I'm leaving. I'll be back in a bit, okay? I love you. I love you too. She gave her baby one more hug before she waved goodbye and started walking home. Izuku went up to the counter and got himself a strawberry lemonade with a small plate of cream-filled taiyaki that he will split with Toshi if he wanted some. He also got Toshi a small black iced coffee and a large water. If Toshi is always saying he needs to drink more water, then he'll say it right back. He got his plate and a little drink carrier and headed over to the cat section where Toshi was most likely sitting. The purple-haired boy was sitting at their usual table in the corner with Tiger on his head and a couple of other cats laying on him as per usual. Though he was wearing a face mask. Was he sick? Izuku was interrupted by thoughts when a little black fluff practically attacked his legs. Meow. Kuromi was rubbing herself all over his legs while she continued to yowl at him. He almost tripped over her a few times, but eventually Izuku made it to the table and sat down. Kuromi immediately jumped in his lap and kneaded his thighs. In his peripheral vision, Izuku could see Mimi making her way over to him, most likely to try and steal a taiyaki. Sup Greenie? I see you have found Kuromi. When she saw me come in, she immediately went to wait by the door. I guess she was waiting for you. Alwa Kuromi. Why you are such a SW sweetheart. He received a smug-sounding meow in response and even a little lick to the finger when he petted her head. A kitty kiss. I feel honored. You have been blessed. It is an honor to receive a kitty kiss. Hitoshi was nodding sagely as he commented on the greatness of kitty kisses. Tiger enjoyed the little movement and nuzzled his face into the fluffy purple hair. Oh Titoshi, I got you an iced coffee and water. We can share the taiyaki. Do you like the cream filled ones? Izuku fluff less Midoriya, a quiet mumble of that's not my name could be heard, but Hitoshi ignored it and continued on. You are a kind one. You have brought me the elixir of life. Hitoshi put the straw in and lifted his mask just a bit to take a big sip of it before sighing contently. Don't forget the water too. You can't survive off of just coffee. True, which is why I also run on spite and memes. Izuku fondly rolled his eyes as he took a taiyaki and bit into its tail first. He also had to pull the plate closer to the middle of the table to avoid a little gray paw sneaking up on them. Why you okay? I haven't heard from you for a week, not even at an night. Also your mask? Hitoshi shrugged. As he looked to Mimi who was now trying his side of the table and seeing if she could sneakily reach the pastry this way. I got sick, hence the mask. I'm feeling all good now, but I don't want you to get sick, so just in case I'm wearing it. As for not messaging, well, when I'm sick I just like to hide away, you know? Well, I'm glad you are feeling better Toshi. And thanks for thinking of me. So bright, Hitoshi said when looking at the greenie's sweet smile. Kuromi meowed in agreement and Tiger closed his eyes at the brilliance of it all. Mimi took her chance as everyone was blinded by the smile and managed to swipe a taiyaki. She laid down under the table to eat her sweet treat. She was victorious. And next time you are sick, you should message me to if you want to. Mine makes a really good porridge that always makes me feel be better. Think she is making some tonight maybe? Oh. Hitoshi put down the coffee and grabbed a pastry biting head first, though he did tilt his head to the side because he was sure there was supposed to be 3 left, not 2. You okay? I just got my tea treatment today. It hits me a little bit later. She has been making porridge or katsudon the day of or after a treatment. Izuku has been losing his appetite, but he still needs to eat to keep up his strength. Katsudon has always been Izuku's favorite meal, and Inko always made porridge when he was sick as a young child. Izuku has an easier time eating them than others when not hungry. Simple miso soup and other easy-to-eat but notorious food has become a commonplace on their table. Shit, I'm sorry. You could have told me no. We could have met up another time. Kuromi glared at him for that, which slightly unnerved Hitoshi and made him wonder if she could understand them. Too glad to see you again. I've been worried about you since the mall. Hey, it's okay, I'm fine. I've just been a bit sick, is all. I was worried about you too, worried the mood would become somber. The purplet changed topics as he adjusted his mask to take a drink of his iced water, which caused the greenette to nod in approval. So, did you ever end up watching that Hawks compilation of him flying into things? My favorite is when he hits the billboard advertising the new fried chicken place. The two friends spent the next hour talking about Hero's silly fail compilations. Well, Hitoshi was laughing at them and smiling his shit-eating grin as Izuku decided to dub it, while Izuku himself did his best to defend the hero's dignity. In the middle of discussing whether or not present Mike let that stop sign hit him, but he then threw the sign back at the villain, which hit them, thus knocking him out. Kuromi perked up, jumped off Izuku's lap onto the table, and meowed to grab the attention of someone who just walked in. This caused the two boys to stop and look who entered the cafe, because Kuromi rarely seeks attention from other people. Oh, this is the first time I've seen Kuromi not waiting at the door for you. Show. You might have some competition for her attention. Shoyuda Aizawa, pro hero Eraserhead, was not having a good day. In fact, he was having a very bad day. It all started off with his patrol last night being a complete nightmare. At the end of it, he saved a drunken old man from being mugged by a stupid teen. That in itself was pretty common, so he did his usual protocol. He quickly wrapped the attempted mugger up in his capture weapon, called the police for them to put up the teen, and then waited while he told the drunk man to call someone to pick him up and take him home safely. What was not expected was that the old man was so drunk, and his glasses were broken, that he mistook Eraserhead with his hobo aesthetic as a sexy lady. The whole time while waiting for the police and the man's friend, he had to suffer countless pickup lines and terrible, drunken flirting from a man old enough to be his father. Hey you sexy lady, what does one tennis dash asterisk kick asterisk say to the other? Hicka, hi sexy lady. Sexy lady I. Why you have hick pr pretty eyes? His eyes still twitch thinking about it. He just knows the story will spread around the police prefecture and Tsukachi will have a field day with it. While they both claim they are work associates and nothing more, the underground hero and detective are actually friends. As friends they do what all friends do, and they will make fun of the other when given the chance. Then when he got home he found his fiancée, the love of his life and the sunshine that lights up his day, spread out starfish style over the whole bed with no room for him. When he tried to squeeze in, he got kicked in the rib by the sleeping Hisashi for his trouble, so he slept on the couch, which gave him a sore back when he woke up. Normally sleeping on the couch would be fine, he has done it plenty of times when getting back from patrol late and not wanting to disturb his lover, but just last week it broke. Hisashi and Namuri were watching a competition show, something about singers from around the world or something. They got too rowdy and started jumping on the couch to cheer their favorite, causing it to break. They hadn't had time to buy a new one yet. Sleeping with a spring digging into his back was not very comfy, but that isn't anything a good cup of coffee could fix. Coffee can make any situation better. When Aizawa was trying to make coffee for himself, Hisashi saw a tiny spider in the corner of the ceiling and screamed with his quirk in effect. They were able to soundproof their apartment and got bulletproof glass installed, which was one of the perks of living in an apartment complex for heroes. However, despite the apartment itself being fine, his poor coffee pot could not handle the shriek and shattered. He was unable to get his daily coffee cups after he woke up, which just made everything worse. No, Aizawa was not having a good day, so Hisashi, being a wonderful husband-to-be, sure it was self-proclaimed by the man himself, but Aizawa did not disagree, decided to take him out on a date to their favorite cafe, Perfect Pastries. They both had the day off after all, so why not enjoy it surrounded by cats? They have been going there since it opened, and by this point they have tried all the menu options and know each cat's name by heart. If anything would make Aizawa's day better, it would be surrounded by cats, drinking coffee, and being with his love. They too got their treats, Aizawa got a large black coffee and a piece of blueberry cheesecake that is shaped like a cat's paw, while Hizashi got a cookie crumble frappe with a small plate of strawberry mochi, and entered the cat room to an unexpected sight. Normally, Aizawa's favorite cat, Kuromi, would be waiting by the door for him. She was very good at telling when they would visit the cafe. She would loudly meow at him in a scolding manner before hopping in his lap and demanding his love and attention throughout his whole visit. She was precious but needy, and Aizawa wouldn't have it any other way. Right now, though, she was across the cafe standing on one of the tables in the corner that is currently occupied by a purple-haired boy wearing a mask with eye bags that rival his, and none other than Sprout, the little kid he met at the hospital a while ago that actually recognized him. The four of them, well, five if you include Kuromi, stared at each other for a moment before Hizashi does what he does best and breaks the tension. "Oh, this is the first time I've seen Kuromi not waiting at the door for you show. Haha, you might have some competition for her attention. Hey little listener, you okay?" Sprout was currently practically vibrating in place as he started wide-eyed at Aizawa. "Oh no, I've seen that look before." Sprout is about to explode. Eraser head. Titoshi. Lol. I'm so glad the cat room is empty right now. Sprout was currently looking at the tired hero with stars in his bright green eyes as he vibrated in his seat. The purple-haired boy, Toshi apparently, made sure to grab the drinks before they tipped over and spilled everywhere. What was surprising was that Toshi was also looking at him in awe. Wait, is that tiger sleeping in his hair? Speaking of cats, Kuromi was looking like a very happy kitty as she jumped from the table to Sprout's lap. She then pawed at the open spot next to the green boy, all the while maintaining eye contact with the tired man. "Wait a second," shouted Hizashi, startling everyone. "A green-haired boy who is vibrating in place and who recognizes our dear Eraser, you must be Sprout." "Shoulda. It's Sprout." Hizashi grabbed his grumpy lover's arm and then practically dragged him over to the boys' table. "I regret everything. I regret not punching that dunk last night. I regret not shoving Zashi off the bed. I regret a lot, but right now most of all, I regret telling Zashi about Sprout." Hizashi took a seat next to the tired boy while Aizawa slumped down next to Sprout. He felt the seat shake a bit from the vibrating boy while Kuromi stretched her fluffy self until she laid across both of her favorite humans' laps. She started to purr up a storm while kneeing Aizawa's left thigh. Eraser head is sitting next to me. "Oh my all am I. Titoshi." Toshi has yet to say anything as he still looked wide-eyed at Aizawa even with a stranger sitting next to him. "Hi there little listeners. Sorry to intrude, but I'm Hizashi Yamada. I see you already know Eraser here. Fucking donkeys stuck in a tree, it is Eraserhead. Holy mother of penguins, I was not expecting this when I crawled out of bed." Aizawa raised his eyebrow at the interesting purplet's choice of curse words. "Wow, Eraser. Two fans at once. This is an all-new record." Sprout was still out of commission by the shock of meeting Eraserhead in a cat cafe of all places, but Toshi blushed at Hizashi's comment and gave the blonde a little glare. "Aw, this one even glares like you, Shoyuta. Nice to meet you, Mini Eraser." The purple boy turned even redder, but before Toshi could replay, Sprout loudly gasped and started digging in his book bag that was kept on the floor. There was an indignant meow from a cat who was most likely napping on the bag. Sprout grabbed a notebook and a pen before holding them out to Aizawa. "Pee-pee please. Sign my notebook. I would be honored. I've been looking around the hospital each time I go hoping to see you again. You're so amazing." Just like last time, Aizawa was caught off guard from the praise Sprout was giving him. Then he realized Sprout was actually asking for his autograph. His Eraserhead, underground hero who besides his colleagues, no one knew, until he met the tiny green kid at the hospital. He just stared at Sprout as he stroked Kuromi's fluffy fur. Aizawa DXC is in shock. Please wait a moment for the reboot to happen. Default cat petting mode is active while reboot takes place. He looked over to Hizashi for advice, but his fiancée was currently useless. He was looking extremely happy for Shoyuta to be asked for his first autograph, and by the looks of the angle of his phone, was taking a picture of this moment. Toshi was looking amused as he maneuvered his mask to sip at some coffee. Even Kuromi looked like the cat that got the canary as she nuzzled her little face into his stomach. All the while, Sprout was still praising him and holding out the notebooks with shaking hands. Shoyuta Aizawa was tired due to his terrible patrol, sleeping on the couch and not having his coffee, so he did the most logical thing he could think of to get the kid to stop talking for a minute. He took his hand and covered Sprout's mouth. "I need to stop doing this to the kid." Toshi burst out laughing for some reason, and Hizashi was chuckling right along with the kid. His camera was still on, so most likely all this was captured on video. Tiger woke up at the sudden loud noise from his bed and proceeded to whack at the purplet. Mimi, who was apparently under the table and most likely the one sleeping on the book bag earlier, took her chance to swipe a machi from Hizashi's plate before retreating back into her hiding space. "Oh, Tiger. No claws. Oh, my machi. Mimith. That was mine." Still covering the Sprout's mouth, who was looking too amused by the situation, Aizawa gave his famous red-eyed floating hair glare at those across the table. Hizashi stopped yelling, but was now pouting since he was short one strawberry machi. Tiger gave Toshi one more hit to the boy's face before turning around giving everyone his but before curling back up in the boy's gravity-defying hair to resume his rudely interrupted nap. As for Toshi, at Tiger's last swipe, his claw caught the edge of the boy's mask and for just a moment Shoyuta thought he saw red cuts on the boy's cheek that looked strangely familiar for some reason. He was about to ask about the cut, why did it look familiar, when he felt his hand getting wet. Aizawa gave a great big sign before shutting off his quirk to look at Sprout who, as he expected, was bleeding through his fingers. He removed his hand and grabbed some napkins that were on the table. "Again. Ichi. Sorry, Mr. Eraserhead, sir. History likes repeating itself." Hizashi quickly got up and headed to the bathroom, most likely to wet some paper towels to clean the blood more efficiently. "Shit, Greenie, you okay? Here, drink some water." Toshi leaned over the table and held the straw to the cup of water up to Sprout's mouth. Toshi looked worried and Sprout looked embarrassed. Hizashi was in the bathroom, so it fell onto Aizawa to cheer up the kids. Not knowing what to do, he decided to do what he does best and be a sarcastic shit. "Greenie? A bit on the nose there. Couldn't think of anything better? Hey, at least it isn't Sprout, old man. It makes him sound like a Brussels sprout and those are gross. This boy is niceness in human form. Pure light." Sprout looked scandalized as he stared at his friend for daring to call Eraserhead an old man. Aizawa himself just chuckled. "Heh, problem children, the both of you." Sprout's nose stopped bleeding, but there were still streaks of drying blood on the boy's face and Aizawa's hand. "I'm back." Hizashi leaned over Aizawa to wipe at Sprout's face. "Here, some wet paper towels. This will clean up any blood that the napkins missed. Dry blood is gross and uncomfortable. Let's get you cleaned up, little listener." After getting Sprout cleaned, Hizashi spoke once more. "They're all done." With a proud smile, Hizashi threw away the dirty paper towels in the nearby trash can before facing the kids. "Now, you look a bit tired, both of you do, so maybe it is about time for you guys to head home for the day, okay?" The two problem children were about to protest, when Sprout gave a great big yawn. The purple-haired kid simply signed and took Tiger off his head before getting up. "Yeah, the old men are right." Hizashi sputtered at being called old, but Aizawa just huffed. "Text your mom. I'll start walking you home, okay, Greenie?" But Tashi." Before Sprout started protesting, Kuromi got up from her position on both his and Aizawa's lap, and moved over to just Aizawa, effectively giving the boy permission to leave. "See, Greenie, even Kuromi agrees with me. Pack your stuff and get going." Knowing he had no chance to win an argument with Kuromi, Sprout started to pack his book bag. Aizawa got up with Kuromi in his arms to let the boys slide out of the booth. So Eraserhead," said Hiro, turned to look at the purple boy who was blushing with a cute scowl on his face. "And nice to meet you. You are my favorite hero. Aizawa Deku is currently out of commission due to sudden shock. Please try again later or leave a message to active hero mode, Eraserhead.exe. Oh, you two are so cute. The cutest little listeners ever. My heart. So cute. Show. You have fans? Hisashi was currently beaming his brightest smile as he hugged his lover tightly. Both boys were up and smiling, while Toshi was smirking at the adult's display of affection. That snapped Aizawa out of his shock, and he could feel his face burning. To try and save his dignity, he hid his face in his capture weapon. Problem child, both of you? What he means, little listeners, is that we hope to see you guys around. Get home safely, okay? With that, they two boys left the cafe, leaving the adults to have their date. The two resumed their spots at the table. Kuromi took position on Aizawa's lap while Tiger decided to resume his nap in the blonde's lap. It wasn't as comfy as the purple floor of hair, but it will do. I know you said Sprout was a cute kid, but man, was that an understatement. His hair is all fluffy and those freckles and that precious smile. So cute. And the other one, he looks like a mini you. Eye bags, love for cats and coffee, that lovely dead-eyed stare. His hair defies gravity like yours does when you use erasure. Hell, if I didn't know any better, I would swear he was your son. Speaking of the purple one, did you see anything on his face when Tiger was pawing at him? No, sorry, I wasn't looking. But does he have freckles too? I'm sure I'm just imagining it perhaps. I was a bit flustered at the moment. All you, the emotionless eraser head, flustered. We got to meet those kids again. If I didn't get it on video, Nem would never believe me. I just realized I never signed Sprout's notebook. The two spent the rest of their date simply enjoying the other's company as they talked about cats, work, and everything in between. It got to the point where Aizawa was forgetting why he was in a bad mood to begin with this morning. That is, until he received a message from Tsukachi. Tsukachi, hi sexy lady. Oh, that will be your new code name for missions. That motherfucker. Later, when Izuku arrived home and was telling his mother all about the cafe and who he met, he realized with the utmost horror what he did not get. Not again. I forgot to get Eraserhead's autograph. It's been a few weeks since he met Hitoshi at Perfect Pastries and ended up running into Eraserhead and Mr. Yamada. Izuku still can't believe that he, once again, failed to get the autograph of his second favorite hero of all time. He had his notebook and everything, and what happened? Not the signature of one of his favorite heroes of all time, that's for sure. Still, life moved on. His hospital visits still happen, but the chemo is really hitting his body hard. Lately, Izuku has been incredibly tired due to being anemic. Some days it is a chore itself to simply get out of bed. He also barely has an appetite and has lost a bit of weight from his already petite form. He has also lost some of his sense of taste, making him want to eat even less. Even his mom's katsudon isn't as tasty as it used to be. What is really unfortunate is when he does eat something, his stomach starts bothering him too. Luckily, his hair is still staying strong. Sure, he has to clean out the shower drain more often, but luckily he inherited his mom's thick hair. Unfortunately, that made the kids at school mad. They bought mini plungers from the internet to use on his bald head. They told him that he better get sicker quicker so they can practice their aim. He should be used to their mean words, but he did tear up when the class started to chant sicker quicker over and over. The teacher just chuckled at the whole situation before telling everyone to quiet down and focus on the lesson. His head hurts more often as well, but to be honest, Izuku can't tell if it is because of his treatments, or due to the fact his English teacher likes to throw things at him for falling asleep in class. Soon, he won't have to worry about them for long. His mom was in the process of signing him up for an online school that lets him move at his own pace. Being at school for the whole day was so very tiring. When he gets home, he collapses in his bed for hours to regain strength. With online school, he could do his work when he could focus and nap when he needed a break. Plus, no one will throw things at him anymore for dozing off. The downside of the past couple of weeks is with school and treatments, Izuku hasn't been able to see Toshi for a while. They still message each other though. Hopefully with online school, he can conserve his energy and be able to meet his purple-haired friend more often. Plus, he really wants to go back to Perfect Pastries. Kuromi must be missing him, and maybe he could even see Eraserhead again. It was really fun talking to him and Mr. Yamada. Though he swears Mr. Yamada still looks familiar, but Izuku isn't able to pinpoint where he has seen him before. You think it would be easy to remember seeing someone before with such bright yellow hair, but no one is coming to mind. Still though, Izuku will continue to ponder on the identity of Mr. Yamada. Somehow, he has the feeling like when he knows the answer it will be so obvious that he will want to facepalm himself. Izuku baby. Guess what? Izuku looked up from his notebook. He was currently curled up on the couch in his comfy clothes watching the news. They were showing clips of the recent fight between Endeavor and the villain Mole Man. What was interesting about it was that Mole Man escaped by digging a small hole into the ground. Endeavor tried to direct his hell flame down, but quickly realized the hole was close to a gas line. That would have been disastrous. Still, it was the first time in a long time that Endeavor had a villain escape on him. The new report says that Endeavor is still following Moleman's trail and unable to answer any questions at the moment. What is it, Mom? I finally got the approval and set up your online classes and signed you out of Aldera. It is all prepared on your laptop for you to start anytime. Inko sat next to her dear child and handed him his laptop. I saved the online school's main page on your browser and saved the username and password for everything on a document, just in case. Is that why you wanted to borrow it? Thank you, Tsu. You're to the best. Oh, Izuku, I should be saying that to you. You are the best son a mother could ask for. I love you very much and am so proud of you. The mother and child duo sat on the couch and hugged one another for a few minutes. Inko broke the hug first and gave Izuku a few pats on the head. Now remember, just because you can learn at your own pace doesn't mean you can slack off now, you hear me? Oh, of course. Now, how about we go out for a treat? Feel up for anything? Izuku thought about it and decided for a treat instead of something easier to eat. The smart choice would be the hot pot place that offers a mild and nutritious stew, but today is a treat and he wants something even he can taste. Ice cream was always nice, and so was that little ramen shop with the super spicy pork ramen that is across the figure store, but he wasn't in the mood for either. See, can we go out for fast food? I haven't had nuggets in a while. Of course, baby. Give me a moment to grab my purse and we can go, all right? Izuku eagerly nodded as his mom smiled at his enthusiasm. With his laptop and notebook safely put down on the table, Izuku opened the chat on his phone to tell Toshi the good news. Purple and green chat. Green, Toshi. Guess what? Asterisk nabla asterisk. Purple. Aliens have Techno VR Plus, we all live in a sim. Green, not that I know of. Omega? Purple. I'm out of guesses. Green, I'm officially done with Aldera Middle School and am enrolled in online school. Purple, sweet, we should celebrate at per soon. Green, we should. Think we will run into Mr. Eraserhead again? Asterisk asterisk. Oh. Izuku, you ready? Coming, Mom. With a quick goodbye message to Toshi, Izuku heads to the front door where his mom is waiting, puts on his shoes, and they are off. Originally, Inko wanted to take the bus, or even go somewhere closer, but Izuku was insistent. He was having a good day and it was so nice outside that he just wanted to take a walk in it and enjoy the air. Fresh air is good for you, he said, and everything will be fine, he said. It was supposed to be a fun treat for him. Supposed to be is unfortunately the key phrase there. One thing Izuku knows in his short life is that life is fickle and can be downright unfair. First, he was born quirkless. He was born without that one thing that people deemed you human. Second, his dad left his mom and him. He still hears his mom cry at night. Third, his best friend left him too. He is getting tired of having to treat burns every time he comes home from school. Fourth, he got cancer. He was getting weaker and doing daily activities were starting to become harder. And finally, the fifth example was taking a walk to McDaniel's instead of the bus, or just not going out at all. Turns out that Endeavor was still indeed tracking down Mole Man from his fight yesterday. Turns out Mole Man was hiding low in a nearby alley that Izuku and Inko just so happened to walk by. Turns out Endeavor entered from the other side and let out a fireball at the Mole Man. Turns out Mole Man was prepared for a sudden attack and ducked down into a shallow hole he made by the dumpster. Turns out the fireball hit his mother straight on. Turns out there is no way to survive from a direct fireball from an angry Endeavor. With the cancer diagnosis, Izuku knew he may not live as long as he originally thought. He may not enjoy old age. His mother may in fact bury him. He never thought he would be burying his mom so soon though, but by watching the way his mom screamed and twisted in agony, he knew there was no way she would survive this. The next few days were a blur. Izuku felt like he was just floating by and watching the world around him. His mother was declared dead at the scene when the paramedics arrived. Some kind passerby immediately called for an ambulance when he saw his mom go up in flames. Endeavor didn't even spare them more than a passing glance because he finally had the mole man in his flaming clutches. Auntie Mitsuki was handling the funeral affair since Izuku didn't really have a clue what to do. The day of the funeral was one of the worst days of his life. Auntie, his strong auntie, was crying. He never saw her cry. Uncle Masaru was holding her and crying as well. Even Kaken let out a tear or two. Izuku just couldn't cry though. He didn't have any more tears. He ran out when he watched his mom burn to death. He ran out when she was declared dead. He ran out when a man from Endeavor's agency arrived with a big check to apologize for this unfortunate accident. Izuku was set for life right now between the huge amount of money from Endeavor and his mom's life insurance policy. He won't have access to the money until he turns 18 though, as unlikely as that is right now. For now, he was being sent to foster care. Auntie and uncle tried to take him in, but since there wasn't a will or anything from Inko stating where Izuku should go in the case of her passing, the government passed him off to a social worker. Hitoshi has been messaging him, but he hasn't had the energy to answer. Mr. and Mrs. Tanaka are such lovely people. They currently only have one other foster child right now, so hopefully you will get along with him. I don't know much about him to be honest since he is under my coworker's caseload, but I'm sure he is a lovely boy. If only I could remember his name. Izuku knew he should have been paying attention, heck, he didn't even know the name of his assigned caseworker, but he wasn't feeling much at the moment. His head hurt from everything. What hurt the worst though was his heart. The day he went to pack his belongings hurt the most. All he saw was an empty apartment and a place without his mom. He would never see her cooking in the kitchen, or humming as she worked on her crossword puzzles. He would never again hear her voice or hug her again. He was in a daze the whole time that day. Auntie and uncle were able to open a storage until and helped him move everything he couldn't take with him. Right now, all he had was a suitcase full of clothes, his backpack, notebooks, and laptop. And here we are. The social worker's voice brought him out of his train of thought. The car pulled into the driveway of a nice, but modest house. The yard was clean-cut and everything looked nice and perfect. The Tanakas are very nice. They agreed to take you right away despite your lack of Q. So they were the only people who took in a quirkless, sick kid apparently. The only positive part of that is that it means that the couple aren't quirkiest. Oh, that is the only good thing that happened recently. Hopefully the other foster kid would be nice. Anyway, here we are. The two of them stood in front of the gate and rang the doorbell. Coming. The door opened and showed a middle-aged couple. They looked rather ordinary with no clear indication of their quirks. Most likely they are both emitter types of quirks. Maybe they or one of them are even quirkless. That could be why they wanted to take them. He would love to talk with another quirkless person. Hello there little Izuku, I'm Mrs. Tanaka. And this here is my dear husband. We are so sorry for your loss and hope your time here will allow you to heal. Alright, and this is my cue to leave. The social worker brought out the suitcase and left it next to Izuku. Now, behave yourself and be nice to the Tanakas and their other foster kid, alright. Bye now. With that the social worker got back in her car and drove off. Mr. Tanaka grabbed his suitcase and all three went inside. The inside was just as nice as the outside. All the furniture and decor were all modern and neat. Everything was organized and there wasn't a mess on site. Mr. Tanaka led them all up the stairs. The only odd thing was that a few doors at the end of the hallway was a door with about 4 different types of locks on it. Izuku almost thought something precious must be inside, but why would the locks be on the outside? Alright kid, here is the deal. We don't want you here. Get that straight? No one takes kids like you, so the government pays extra money to the people that do take you and other shits like you. Now, the other brat here is a horrible boy with a horrible quirk. Here is your room, enjoy. With that the Tanakas pushed both the suitcase and Izuku into the room with the locks on it. There were 2 beds inside and not much else. The windows had locks on them and there were no bookshelves, desks, or anything else besides a closed closet. What was most shocking was that on one of the beds sat his dear and only friend, Hitoshi, wearing a bloody muzzle. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you will get. Some days Hitoshi feels like life isn't too bad and he gets a tasty piece of dark chocolate. Other days he gets white chocolate, way sweet and isn't even chocolate, so how dare it mascara it itself. He could go on a rant about the audacity of disgusting cream-colored faker, filled with bird shit collected from on top of a pile of elephant shit using a rusty shovel. In simple, less shitty terms, life can suck. To be fair, ever since he met his friend, life has been slightly better. Maybe not dark chocolate days all around, but more milk chocolate than white days for sure. Sure, his foster parents suck penguin ass and the muzzle is a huge pain, literally and figuratively, but at least he has a friend who he can text, unless the Tanakas take his cell phone away from him. Those days are the worst since they also put on his muzzle and usually lock him in the dark and cramped closet. Overall, life has been slightly better than it was since he met Greenie. Greenie hasn't texted him back since the day he got the news that his friend is finally starting online school. The two never talked in depth about their terrible middle school experiences, but Hitoshi isn't a complete dumbass. He knows his friend is quirkless, and while that means nothing to him, he knows people are as shitty as an old fat cat having diarrhea because the cat stole and ate a hot chili pepper. Between that and his friend's nervousness, you would have to be a complete brain-fried idiot to not realize that Greenie was bullied. Online should be way better, and he was glad Greenie was escaping that Axe deodorant-scented hellhole. Since those short texts all those days ago, Greenie hasn't messaged back. At least once a day Hitoshi would send a message, maybe a cat picture he saw or something just to check in on his friend. Okay, maybe it was more than once a day at times. Maybe it was a few times a day, but can you blame a guy for worrying about his only friend who was also sick and maybe was in the hospital on his least breath and nobody told him because of how old he was just a friend and not really important integran schemioful thing sandila tell him with his freak. Hitoshi took the moment to press the muzzle deeper into his face. Her gasped at the sharp pair as the muzzle, that wasn't exactly measure for his face mind you, dug into his skin. The pain stops his train of thought that was derailing out of control right into Mount S. A bit of blood dripped down his chin, but who cares? Sure, he will have to continue to wear face masks and make up excuses, or maybe he can buy more makeup to cover his cuts and hide it better so the Tanakas won't find it and berate him for being a sissy boy, but at least his thoughts aren't spiraling. He used to pitch himself, but that doesn't snap him out of it anymore. Part of him knows that relying on pain isn't great, but he doesn't know what else to do. He doesn't want to spiral into depressing thoughts and get so anxious and depressed. One time that happened when he was in the cramped closet and he passed out due to hyperventilating. A bit of pain is better than that, maybe, but who care really at the end of the day? Not the Tanakas, that's for sure. Anyway, it has been a couple of days and Hitoshi was very worried. Currently he was sitting in his room just scrolling through his phone. The other bed in the room had some sheets thrown on it earlier, so while the Tanakas didn't say anything, like they ever talked to him, Hitoshi was pretty sure that there was another foster kid being put in with him. It has been a few months since he had a roommate, but last one was not fun. The Tanakas only take those who the foster agency deems extra problematic cause they get more money. Kid was narcissist ass blast who had a juvie record. Other kids stole his bed and pushed them together to make a bigger bed, leaving Hitoshi to sleep on the dirty floor. The Tanakas didn't care and let it happen. Thankfully for Hitoshi, the kid got charged with a couple of things for trying to rob a store, so he went back to juvie. Hitoshi was in the middle of contemplating whether or not to send this cute cat meme to Greenie or try to give him some space when he heard a footstep outside the door. Sounded like 3 people, so probably the new kid. Just great. This time he was standing firm on keeping his bed though. It was his and he did not want to give it up. He would fight for it. Well, maybe not that. Last time he fought for an item with a foster sibling, it was his breakfast actually. The Tanakas took the other kid's side since Hitoshi's quirk was so much worse. That fight led to the muzzle, closet, and no food for 3 days. Since then Hitoshi doesn't really fight for his items. Now he prefers to be clever and intimidate the others. He prepared himself by hiding his phone under the thin pillow, slouching over on the bed, and preparing by putting on his best deadpan expression. First impressions mean a lot, and if they don't think they can mess with you, they won't immediately. Hopefully the blood on his face from the muzzle helped his look as well. Who would want to mess with a kid in a muzzle covered in blood with a dead look in his eyes? The door opened, a suitcase was tossed in, and Hitoshi finally got a look at his new roommate. If the muzzle wasn't on his face, Hiroshi was pretty sure he would say something along the lines like, "What are you doing here? Run while you can and get out of this shit show." Maybe he would shout at the Tanakas for practically pushing his friend into the room with his things before locking the door and leaving. But nothing came out. Green and purple eyes just continued to stare at each other. After what seemed like hours, thought it was really only a few minutes, Hitoshi made the first move. He jumped out of bed while grabbing his phone and moved towards his friend. Typing fast in the Notes app, Hitoshi writes, "What happened? Where Mamadori? You vent answer text. Are you okay? Please, you okay?" Greenie is still just staring at Hitoshi, or more specifically his muzzle. He never wanted his friend to see him like this, but nothing one can do now. Best to distract him. He passed his phone to Greenie and he read the messages. Izuku just stared at the phone for a minute while tears gathered in his eyes. He slowly looked up at his friend. Greenie suddenly lunged forward to hug his only friend. He hung on like this was the first hug he has received since his mom's passing, which it honestly might be, and ain't that a sad thought. Izuku broke down in a flurry of cries and mumbles, but Hitoshi listened very carefully as he rubbed his friend's back and moved them to sit on the bed together. He was able to piece together what happened. Apparently Endeavor fucking blasted a fireball into an ally that lead out to a public street and hit Mamadori head-on. Poor Izuku was there and had to watch as his mom burned to death in front of him. Hitoshi was never a huge fan of Endeavor. At first it was because he was a limelight hero obsessed with being number one. Like, being a hero is more than a number. Then as he got older he started to notice how crass and angry the hero was whenever out in public. He looked further and found forums about how Endeavor was the number one hero in regards to casualties, both villains and civilians, as well as property damage. However, since he is also the hero with the most villain captured, even if some end up crispier than others, no one really care? Or who knows, but all Hitoshi knows he wasn't a super fan of the guy. Now though, now Endeavor is officially on his hate list. Endeavor shall now be known as Indehor, flaming garbage pail, he who must be compensating for something because he always keeps his face flaming to be intimidating, and whatever other insults he can think. For now, he has his only friend crying ugly tears into his arms. Comforting isn't Hitoshi's strong point, and it isn't like he can say anything right now either. He does have an idea though. Maybe I should send a letter to Juvie to thank that prick for this idea. I could put in cat shit in there too while I'm at it since all this is just shitty. This is just a white chocolate shit-filled day. Hitoshi gently moved Izuku from his arms before quickly grabbing the empty bed and putting the two together. This way the two can lay together without risk of falling off the bed. Once the beds were together, Hitoshi grabbed his friend, laid down, and let the green hair boy cry himself to sleep with the only comfort he has been allowed in days. When the world is upside down, what do? Do you hold on for dear life hoping it will right itself? Or do you let go and fall into the nothing below? Do you rage and cry, or do you just feel nothing? Do you look ahead into the future, or are you stuck in the past? When the world is upside down, what makes things right again? Will it ever be right side up? Will the world stay this way forever? Do you try to fix it or accept that this is now your life? Do you live in denial and act like nothing has changed? When the world is upside down, what do? Izuku has been asking himself these questions ever since his mom died, murdered, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, a victim of circumstance, a pile of burnt flesh that was replaced by a check, a so sorry, and a foster home with locks on the door where his best and only friend lived, who is wearing a muzzle. The world is upside down and Izuku isn't sure how to navigate anything. He just woke up and was currently in the arms of Toshi. Toshi's shirt was wet with his tears, again. The greenie felt a slight tap on the back of his head and looked up to see the purple tired eyes above a bloody muzzle staring back at him. Sorry for crying on you. Toshi simply shrugged and helped them both sit up on the two beds. He grabbed his phone and wrote in the Notes app. Izuku wonders if he knows sign language. Part of him hopes the answer is yes. It would make communication easier since he learned sign a few years ago when wondering if Kaken was going to have hearing problems due to the nature of his quirk. Explosions so close to you constantly aren't good for your ears. Izuku wants to always be a good friend, so if learning a new language was going to help him be a good friend to Kaken, then it was no problem at all. However, parts of him hopes the answer is that Toshi doesn't know sign language. Toshi has shown no problems with his hearing in the entire time Izuku has known him. Actually, his hearing seems to be pretty good since he doesn't have much trouble hearing and understanding Izuku's muttering and mumbling. If Toshi does no sign, then that means the muzzle must be constant enough to warrant learning a new language, and that isn't a good thought. Izuku is broken out of his thoughts again by Toshi, this time by the phone being handed to him. IWN ask if you are okay since course not. Ned HLP unpacking? Well be Romtezit Sems. Toshi, what are you doing here? Are you okay? The insomniac's eyes just got even more tired looking. When the phone was returned to his hand, he typed out another message before giving it back to Izuku. Parents didn't lay quirk. Got drop at park when quirk CME in at 4. Been in foster since. What the fuck? Now, Izuku doesn't curse. It just isn't his thing. He is fine with hearing it, though hearing a new person curse for the first time was always a bit shocking, since he has been around Auntie and Kaken all his life. He just doesn't feel the need to curse. Now though, now he for once in his life felt the need to use profanity because what else would convey his feeling right now? Toshi, upon hearing fuck come out of sweet little Izuku's mouth, almost dropped his phone and fell off the bed. Because what the fuck indeed? Just, the fuck? No. Ich how dare they? Abandoning you? Cause of why your quirk? How fucking dare they? Are they in jail? They better be in jail or hope they never meet a me. Apparently Toshi is still too shocked by hearing the profanity from and threat from his greenie that he didn't even bother with his phone and shook his head no. No? Why not? See child of abandonment is jail worthy. Toshi shrugged and typed on his phone. Izuku really needs to see if they can communicate in sign language. It would be much faster and smoother, plus Toshi's shorthand is almost painful to read. They did the PW to gv me up after thy drpd me off at park. Said I ran away and said thy couldn't handle me and I was us'n quirk auntie. Once police know my quirk, thy okay PW it ws done. No court or anything. Thy moved soon after. Police found me later that night, took me to child service and Ben foster brat sensei. Ver heard from parents AGN. What is it WW with P parents leaving? And my dad left after told HMS she was PR pregnant with me, and now mom left too. She left like dad and I'm Aeon. Something he said made Toshi narrow his eyes at him. Oh no. Izuku knows that look. That is the look Toshi gives him when he says something self-deprecating. His month is probably slightly quirked down on the left side. Izuku isn't sure what he said though, but he waited until Toshi finished his almost frantic typing before shoving his phone in Izuku's face. Midoriya did not leave. She would never leave you. Never. She isn't around because she willingly left. My parents suck, your dad suck, Midoriya does not suck. She is gone, but she did not abandon you. It hurts. But from what I know of Midoriya is she loved you till her last breath. I didn't know about afterlife, but if THR is one, which I hope, she still loves you. Also, you are not alone. I'm here. I'm here for you and am not leaving you. Izuku didn't notice the tears streaming down his face until he felt cloth wiping them away. Toshi was using his own sleeve to clean his tears. Isn't your shirt wet enough? Toshi simply shook his head and once again hugged his friend close. The world is upside down, but Toshi is here and holding him so tightly that Izuku just focuses on that. He is going to focus on this warmth and pressure and not think about the world. Nothing is right or alright, but right now this is what he needs. He was falling into the nothing below, but Toshi grabbed onto him. The world is upside down, but they are holding on to each other for dear life, and that is enough for the moment. It's been a few weeks since Izuku has moved into his new house. It definitely wasn't a home, so he refuses to call it as such, but it was where he and Toshi lived. You think being with someone practically 24/7 since they would also go out together to escape the house would be tough and annoying, but Toshi was honestly the only saving grace of this place. When Toshi was at school it was the worst since the whole house would either be deathly silent or full of yelling from the Tanakas at Izuku, take your pick. Since the first day, Izuku and Toshi kept the beds together, which Izuku has been thankful for. Since his treatments he has found he gets colder easily. Cuddling with Toshi kept him warm since the blankets in the bedroom weren't the thickest nor in the best condition. I departed asking Auntie for access to the storage unit filled with stuff from his home with his mama, but Toshi told him that the Tanakas aren't above messing with their things. Toshi always keeps his backpack filled with his most important items on/near him 24/7. Izuku decided to do the same thing with his yellow backpack, having his laptop, cords, his first All Might figure his mom bought him years ago, and his notebooks. The Tanaka like to do room checks when they are out, or sometimes when they are particularly mean when they are in the room. In those cases they get shoved in the closet for a bit since they weren't allowed to roam the rest of the house. When they were allowed out, which was inconsistent since the Tanakas like to flip between being constantly thrown out of the house as often as they could to wanting to lock the two kids in the bedroom for as long as they could. Izuku is just happy that the room has an attached bathroom. It isn't anything fancy, just a toilet, sink, and shower, but with sometimes being locked in the room for days since Izuku was now in online school, the bathroom was heaven sent. Izuku was always allowed to go to his treatments though. That day, no matter what kind of mood the Tanakas were in, Izuku was always allowed to leave the house. It would be suspicious if he didn't attend treatment. Izuku did learn that Toshi does no sign language, which made communication faster and easier. They decided that Toshi's sign name would be Sleepy and Izuku's would of course be Greeny. Sleepy and Greeny. Lately, since Tanaka quickly figured out that Izuku and Toshi were friendly with each other, they kept the muzzle on Toshi almost always while they were at home. Toshi has been looking more and more tired since he has trouble sleeping normally, but sleeping with a muzzle on his face is almost impossible. Izuku does his best to help relax by petting his hair, which is very soft and very fluffy. 10 out of 10 recommend petting the Toshi, and rubbing his back, which does help. One day while Izuku was trying to help Toshi sleep after school, the Tanakas came into the room. They were pissed. Izuku thought today was a good day. Toshi was out most of the day with school and Izuku was let out and spent most of his day at the public library working on his work, so he wasn't sure why the Tanakas were angry, but it couldn't mean anything good. So, Mrs. Tanaka started, "Today we did a room check. Just to make sure nothing funny was happening here." To my disgust, the bathroom shower drain was practically clogged with hair. If it got worse and the drain was clogged, do you know how much money they would cost to fix it? Is it your plan to make us waste money? And guess what? All the hair was green. Mr. Tanaka took that moment to step forward and grabbed Izuku by the arm. They two kids were still on the bed, sitting up at this point because laying down was too vulnerable a position. Izuku had a coughing fit earlier, so he was a bit weak, and Toshi was wearing his muzzle and was extremely tired that day. Izuku was practically dragged from the bed and out of the bedroom. Only now did he realize that in Mr. Tanaka's other hand was a hair clipper. Mrs. Tanaka closed and locked the door in Toshi's face. Izuku could hear him pounding on the door as he was dragged downstairs and into the fenced-in backyard. He was shoved to the ground and held in a headlock as the clippers were turned on. Izuku could do nothing but watch as the grass beneath him was covered in more green. He could shout and try to fight back, but right now he felt so weak and in such a vulnerable position that doing so would be a bad idea. He felt like a sheep being sheared and he didn't want it to shift to a sheep being slaughtered. As his hair was falling to the ground, all Izuku could think of was how his mom's hair was the exact same color and one of their biggest similarities. He just lost her and for some reason he felt like he was losing a piece of her again. Also how his nicknames from the Eraserhead and his best friend doesn't fit anymore. Sure, you can argue that Greeny could refer to his eyes, but he definitely didn't look like a sprout anymore. Tears were falling from his eyes as the Mrs. Tanaka was verbally beating him down the whole time. Are you seriously crying over your fucking hair? What are you, a fucking pansy? Seriously? Are you going to buy makeup next like that villain? Is that why the beds are together? That is fucking disgusting. Og, if you two didn't bring in some nice cash, I would throw you out in the streets this second. Shit like that does not belong in my home. Since Izuku was in the headlock as he was being shaved, he couldn't cover his ears to not hear her vile words. Seriously, they were both kids. Also, there is nothing wrong with liking boys or boys wearing makeup. He knows this, but is still hurt so much to hear all that vile things being shouted in his ear. He just hoped that Toshi wasn't watching or hearing this. The small window in the bathroom did look out to the backyard. Izuku never paid attention to how much he could hear outside from that window, but he does not want Toshi to witness any of this. After what felt like way too long, the clippers were replaced with a wet razor. At this point, Izuku was just happy that Mr. Tanaka seemed to know his way around the razor, and despite not having any shaving cream, he was not cut or nicked. Small mercies apparently. Mrs. Tanaka did not spot yelling this whole time. He was wondering if the other neighbors would hear, but then remembered her quirk. Mrs. Tanaka could make a small area near or around her soundproof. People within the area could hear each other, but anyone else could not. They were right by the house, and since Izuku didn't know the specifics of the quirk or its limitation, he only knew since Mrs. Tanaka likes to brag about it and any quick she knows to quirkless Izuku, he wasn't sure if Toshi was in range or not. Mr. Tanaka ended the headlock and once again took Izuku by the arm and practically dragged him back inside and up the stairs. Mrs. Tanaka quickly unlocked all the locks and Izuku was shoved back inside before the door was slammed shut. Izuku hit the ground but didn't bother standing. He just sat where he was and kept his teary eyes down. He could tell Toshi moved to kneel in front of him, but he didn't want to look up. The quick glimpse he took showed that Toshi wasn't shocked about the lack of hair, so that means he did see everything out the window. This was so humiliating and dehumanizing. Sure, many times in his life Izuku was told that he was less than normal people, less than human, but it was never put into such a clear action before. Toshi has his muzzle on, so he can't speak, and Izuku refuses to look at him. That didn't stop the taller boy though. Gently and slowly so Izuku could back up at any time, Toshi brought Izuku into a hug. His hands were rubbing his back. I'm not G-greeny anymore, or Suprout. I felt like as a sheep. I know I'm QQ quirkless. A relic and F-fucking jeansless, B but I'm still H-human, alright? Alright. Izuku was sobbing at the end, his fingers clutching the hoodie Toshi was wearing as tight as a lifeline. Toshi patted his back before he started to pull away. And no PP, please don't leave. Toshi patted at Izuku's hands to show it was okay to keep holding on before nudging at Izuku's chin to look up a bit so he could see the purplet's hands as he signed. First off, you will always be greeny. Nothing will change that. Even when you are old and gray, you will forever be greeny in my heart. I'm sure Eraserhead thinks the same with Sprout. I'm sure it was inspired by your hair, but the more I think about it, the more it fits, though I will forever deny that to his face if we meet again. You are tiny and no matter what you always seem to be looking on the bright side and leaning towards the sun like a little sprout. Right now life kinda sucks, but you are the little plant that grows in the cracks of pavement. Your nicknames will not change. On to the next point. You are human and everyone who treats you otherwise are the fucking animals around here. They are the shit stains of the world. Also, please, never call yourself those fucking disgusting slurs again. You aren't either of those things. I will fucking mimic present Mike and DJ punch anyone who ever says that to you. If I hear you call yourself that, I will pinch you. I can have a mean pinch when I want to and I don't recommend ever experiencing it. You are Izuku fucking Greeny Midoriya. You are my best friend and honestly the best person in the whole world. If I didn't live with you, I would honestly believe that cartoon birds help you dress in the morning. You are humans and never forget that as long as you live. Toshi's back hit the ground as Izuku tackled his best friend into a hug. Poor Toshi, another one of his hoodies will once again be covered in tears, but at this point they both accepted it. Midoriyas have always been criers, and while Toshi didn't have any tissues to carry around, he always offered his arms. Toshi might think that Izuku is the best person in the world, but honestly Izuku thinks Toshi is wrong. Hitoshi fucking Sleepy Shinso is the best person in the world and Greeny will fight anyone who says otherwise. Izuku was very happy that Auntie made all those hats for him. It was still a bit cold. His favorite hat to wear was a green beanie made of cotton. Not only is it lightweight and comfortable so he can wear it any season, but it also has a little sprout right on top. The Eraserhead gave him a nickname, and gosh dang it, Izuku will do his best to be a little sprout. It is still weird to think so much has happened in such a short time frame. It has been 10 months since he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He met Eraserhead when he started chemo, though he forgot to get an autograph. Then on his 11th birthday he met Toshi. There was the villain attack where he saw Hawks in action. Then more chemo and meeting Eraserhead again, and still forgetting to get an autograph. All of that within a couple of months. Then in early February he had to bury his mom. After that he was sent to foster care where he lived with Toshi. Living with Toshi and being with your best friend and the only person right now he can count on was great. Everything else was not. All throughout, since a little over a month after his diagnosis to be exact, Izuku has been having his chemo treatments. Since he is young and a bunch of other factors, the doctors and his mom agreed on a chemo schedule. Every 5 days he would have chemotherapy treatment, and that would last 4 weeks. Then he would have 3 weeks off before continuing the pattern again. His tumor is getting smaller, but it is also taking a toll on his body. He has lost quite a bit of weight since nothing is really appetizing anymore, but also because he has been getting some mouth sores, and to top that, all of the nausea and puking isn't helping either. He still gets tired very easily, his eye bags can sometimes rival Toshi, but his body has also been weaker too. The hospital gave him a walker. He has been using it for long distances, like walking to the hospital, if he remembers to grab it. He has been getting a bit more forgetful too. Luckily Toshi, the most amazing human being ever, has been a godsend and helped Izuku with everything. The one time Izuku forgot his wallet, he has his bus pass on the back of his phone. The hospital staff called the Tanakas for them to drop it off. They weren't happy to be called away, so they now make Toshi accompany him to his treatments. The Tanakas lived a bit further from the hospital where Izuku got his treatments, so the bus ride was longer, but Izuku didn't care since despite the world turning upside down and having to move practically everything, at least he got to keep one place the same. Plus, sometimes apparently even recovery girls stopped by the hospital. It would be such an honor to see such an amazing heroine like Recovery Girl. She is so amazing. Izuku was worried that Toshi would feel like Izuku is a bother, but Toshi assured him he is quite happy with this arrangement. In his words, "I get out of school for a bit, fucking sweet haven, sometimes the whole day if I spin it right, which is amazing. I have the grades to do this, especially since you are a sweet summer bush baby and are helping me study. Plus I just get to hang out with you all day. What's not to like? Only thing that could make it better is if one of these days we take the chance of freedom to visit Perfect Pastries." That is true, they haven't had a chance to visit the cat cafe since before Izuku ended up in foster care. Kuromi must surely be missing him. The Tanakas did kick them out of the house at times. Normally Toshi would be at school and Izuku would head towards the public library, but the cafe was a bit far and the two didn't really have a ton of money. Apparently before Izuku joined Toshi, the purple boy was more often than not locked out of the house during the day. The Tanakas gave Toshi some money in return for staying away. It wasn't a lot, but if he ate really cheaply for a few days, he could treat himself to going to the cafe. Now with the two of them there, the Tanakas stopped that. They don't like how close the two boys are and just preferred to keep them inside. Today was one of those treatment days, so the two were out of the house. Izuku and Toshi were currently on the bus heading to the hospital. Izuku was sitting next to Toshi, who was leaving against his folded walker. The bus was pretty empty right now since both rush hour passed and all the schools were already in session. Look at this little fluff butt. So stupid and cute. I swear all orange cats share one brain cell that oftentimes is taking a break in a July 11th. Toshi had his phone out and they were watching super cute cat videos. No muzzle today since they were out and about, though that sometimes doesn't stop the Tanakas from keeping it on him, especially when he goes to school, but even they know leaving a kid who is going to the hospital would be a dumb choice. He is wearing a face mask to hide the cuts from the muzzle. The bus stopped again and on came a very tall blonde man who, in the nicest way possible, looks a bit like a scarecrow. He is very skinny and lanky with dark eyes. Izuku couldn't even see his eyes. Just a bit of bright blue from under the black. Still though, Izuku knows he himself doesn't look too good right now, so judging another person is very mean. Holy scarecrow Batman, that man looks like a leftover prop for a haunted cornfield. Toshi apparently doesn't have that problem. At least he whispered it? But the man did flinch a bit, so apparently it was not soft enough. In return, Izuku pinched Toshi's arm and that fuck of pain felt justified. The man was sitting quietly in his seat and the two kids went back to watching cat videos. After one of the videos, a pop of recommendation came up of All Might's latest interview. Look what you did, Greenie. My precious algorithm is messed up now. There were supposed to be more cat videos, but no, All Might is worth more than your algorithm. You can notice the man once again flinching slightly. Weird. Is he? Really? But cats? Stupid lovely little furry overlords. All Might is no kitty, but he does give off slight rabbit vibes with that hair of his. A really big buff rabbit. That would be one frightening Easter bunny. Not sure I want to see what eggs he lays. Fucking ostrich eggs more likely. With the mention of All Might laying eggs caused the blonde man to suddenly cough up blood. Oh my god. Izuku immediately grabbed his backpack and the tissues he keeps in it for his nosebleeds. He rushes over to hand the man the packet. Are you okay, sir? Toshi was right on Izuku's heels, keeping one hand on the walker to carry over and the other out reaching for Izuku in case he stumbled. The man took a tissue and used it to whip his mouth clean of the blood. Thank you, young man, and sorry for startling you too. I'm fine and I'm afraid this is normal. Dude, coughing up blood is not normal. It's as normal as seeing a penguin sunbathing on a tropical beach eating a pineapple. Toshi led Izuku to sit opposite the bloody man. He knew Izuku wouldn't want to leave the guy alone after seeing that, but he also wanted him to sit down. Tell me you are on this bus to head to the hospital, or we will drag you there ourselves. It is normal for MMI. Young man. The packet of tissues was quickly passed back to Izuku, who was confused until he once again felt blood dripping from his nose. Oh geez, not again. Why is it every time he meets someone new he gets a bloody nose? First Eraserhead, then at his first real hangout with Toshi a bloody nose. Then with Hawks his nose was broken and bleeding, so that should count, and then more blood when he met Mr. Yamada. Now this. What a weird trope, bleeding when meeting people. Good thing we have tissues or this bus would look like a crime scene. Toshi was just shaking his head at the two bloody people. Sorry Toshi. And sorry to you mister for this. No need to apologize. I should be the one saying sorry in fact for startling you two first. And no, it's my fault. Sorry. No I'm sorry. Sorry. Sordash. You are both sorry there, now stop apologizing. It's like a clown car of just never-ending sorries. Greenie, oh no, Toshi gave him his famous raised eyebrow of warning. Usually after the eyebrow followed the sigh of disappointment and perhaps even the small bonk on the head of stupidity. Quick, what words start with sordash? Sore. My nose is now sore. Toshi huffed out a tiny laugh and just shook his head at his friend's antics. Now, the mysterious blonde looked deeply at Izuku. I should be asking, are you all right? He was looking at Izuku with clear concern on his face. To be fair, the walker, his eye bags, and now the nosebleed doesn't paint a pretty picture. Izuku knows he looks sick, but to be fair he is sick so it isn't like he can help it. It was still nice for this guy, who is clearly sick himself, to show concern though. I'm okay. We are heading to the H hospital anyway. I'm heading there as well, so please let me accompany you too. We don't even know your name, Mr. Scarecrow. Izuku looked over to his friend. Toshi seemed very skeptical of the blonde man. His eyes were narrowed and even though the mask hid most of his face, Izuku could tell that Toshi was frowning and periodically biting his lip, especially when Izuku moved even a tad bit closer to the tall man. While the purplet looked relaxed, sitting in the seat next to Izuku, his hand did not leave Izuku's arm. He was ready to grab his friend and book it to safety. Izuku could understand his concern, but something about this man, weak and bloody as he seems, somehow makes Izuku feel relaxed and safe. With that the blonde man blushed a bit. Forgive me for that. My name is Toshinori Yagi. Hello Mr. Yagi. I am Izuku Midoriya and he is Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku gave a little bow in his seat. Ha, what a polite boy you are, young Midoriya. Mr. Yagi laughed joyfully and gave a little bow back. Toshi sighed a bit and bowed too. The three of them must make quite a picture. Two of the three clearly look sickly while the third looks very tired and is wearing a face mask, and they are all bowing in the seats at each other. Actually, now that Izuku is looking, he is pretty sure the bus driver is looking at them with a "what is going on back there?" expression. At least they didn't get blood all over the place this time. Next stop, Muzutafu General Hospital. Next stop, Muzutafu General Hospital. We are here, Toshi, Mr. Lady. Toshi took the walker and opened it back up. He also straightened the sprout beanie before nodding to himself. The three walked off the bus, and Mr. Yagi was even so kind as to take the walker down to the curb as Toshi helped Izuku down the steps. Izuku was a little embarrassed to be helped like this, but it was always nice to be reminded that people, even strangers like Mr. Yagi, are nice and kind. Toshi was walking ahead, though he did keep an eye on his smaller friend. He was going to sign Izuku in so they could relax and watch more cat videos before heading back. Thank you for your help, Mr. Yagi. You are very welcome, young Midoriya. I shall head back, my doctor is expecting me. Between you and me, I'm actually a little late. Don't want to make her wait anymore. Have a good day, and please tell young Shinso goodbye for me as well. With that, Mr. Yagi took his leave and headed down the hall towards the elevator around the corner. Mr. Scarecrow left? Toshi. That's a mean. He was very nice. He even told me to say bye. He was okay for a scarecrow. Looks like he needs to live here though. Maybe we'll run into him again. Why yeah. Toshi squinted his eyes as his friend gave him such a bright and blinding smile. He huffed a laugh before leading Izuku to a seat. Hey, alright, now come on, I know you have been wanting to watch that All Might interview. Since my algorithm is already messed up, watching one interview won't matter. As sad as it was, taking his best Kughandenly friend Kauf to his chemotherapy treatment was the highlight of his weeks generally. Part of it made him feel like a dick for thinking that, but it is the only time where the two of them are allowed out of the foster house together. Hitoshi won't have to worry about the muzzle for a few hours, and he can just spend time with Greenie away from the toxic place. Today was the last treatment before the 3 weeks off, so Hitoshi decided to treat Greenie. They spend the time in the hospital as usual. While Greenie got his treatment, Hitoshi was nearby and the two would just talk about anything and everything. Today's topic ranged from katsudon being the best food ever, according to Greenie at least, but Hitoshi did make sure to argue for the beauty of coffee and all coffee-type foods and drinks, to the trajectory of rising heroes and the math behind how they will advance in the charts. That one caused Hitoshi's head to spin a bit, but Greenie was practically beaming throughout the conversation, and then to quirks and how they affect the person. Another one that when Greenie got into it made Hitoshi feel like a goldfish in swimming headfirst into a dam and then be like, damn ouch. As they were exiting the hospital, Hitoshi looked over his friend and saw a sad expression on his face. What's wrong, Greenie? Hitoshi tried to make sure to call his friend Greenie as often as possible because he can tell that Izuku is still down, and rightfully so, of losing his hair. He even makes sure to throw a sprout in there once in a while. They haven't seen Eraserhead since that one meeting, and he still can't believe he met the Eraserhead. It's like put whipped cream on his head and call him a purple pumpkin pie, like what the fuck he meet the Eraserhead. It's just N next one I is in 3W weeks A and WE most L likely won't be allowed out tog gear T till then. Yeah, I figured, which is why I thought maybe we could go to Perfect Pastries for a bit. Greenie turned to look at his friend. The Titanakas will want to know why WWE will be later than usual if WE go. Then we can tell them that the doctors wanted to talk to you after and maybe the treatment lasted longer since there will be a break or something. What about money? We only have out bus passes. They made sure of that? Yeah, they haven't given us any, but I may have a little stash of money I've been saving. I found some change and money in the house. The Tanakas let him come downstairs or to other areas of the house to do chores for them. Of course he is wearing the muzzle while doing them, but it did give him the opportunity to find money. Sure, part of him felt bad taking the money, But back when they did give him an allowance, they made sure to tell Hitoshi it was only because the laws for the city and the foster system mandated it as such for kids who are of school age. Apparently one of the big donors to the city foster system was a foster brat as well. He said once in an interview that when he was a kid he always wished he had just a bit of money for himself so after school he could join his friends in buying treats and snacks at the nearby convenience stores. With the Tanakas holding back the allowance money for both Greenie and himself, Hitoshi decided that it was kinda his right to any cash laying around. He was careful and always made sure to take a little at a time, nothing they would notice. Greenie was still a bit apprehensive about going to the cafe, kid has a heart of gold, but with more encouragement the two headed over. The walk to the cafe is longer than what Greenie is currently used to, so halfway there they took a break on a park bench and people watched. School just ended for the day and a bunch of kids were out and about which caused Izuku to start gushing over those who had visible quirks. OWL. AF frog mutation. Did you think she has webbed feet? Her eyes are very big. I wonder how well she can see. Frogs have big bulging eyes normally because it allows them to see in front of them, but also the side and even a bit behind them. Oh wow. The kid over there has a bird head. A sea crow I think? H's shadow is moving a bit too. Is H's head just a G genetic mutation and N not a quirk? That kid has a T-tail. H's balance must be fantastic. Mutant Q quirks are so cool. Yeah. He has 6 arms. Amazing. IW under. Hitoshi was just enjoying listening to his best friend. His stutter was always better when Greenie spoke about quirks and things he was passionate about, so Hitoshi always tries to let him talk as much as he wants. Next thing they knew an hour passed as they watched people walk by. Hey, hate to burst your bubble, but we should probably head back to Tanaka's house. It is almost time when we are usually back and it will take us maybe another hour to get back. I don't think we have enough time to go to Perfect Pastries. We all know Kuromi won't let you leave for at least an hour after not seeing you for a bit. I'm so sorry Hitoshi. IJ just kept rambling and taking PR precious tea time and UW went through so much tea trouble FFF for the money. Hey, seeing as his friend was about to start a downward spiral Toshi immediately put a stop to it. I had fun listening to you. You are so fucking smart and your mind goes places I never would have think hen questioning quirks. Sure we didn't go to the cafe, but we had fun anyway. Plus we can stop by a 7-Eleven or something and get a snack. Let's go treat ourselves. Sounds good? Greenie calmed down, which was a win in Hitoshi's book. He knows his friend has been stressed lately and the treatments never make him feel well. They walked back towards the hospital and made a stop at the 7-Eleven next to their usual bus stop. Hitoshi made Izuku sit at the stop and wait while he went inside to buy a snack. Chinese buns were advertised in the window and both boys decided that would make a perfect snack. Greenie said he wasn't picky about any flavor, but Hitoshi needed to get 2 different ones so that they could share. Hitoshi walked into the convenience store and there were a few people inside, but Hitoshi only had eyes for the bun case that someone was completely blocking. The kid kept hemming and hawing over the options that Hitoshi couldn't see because the guy was in front of it, but Hitoshi is a patient guy, so he waited 10 seconds to speak up. You're in the way. Nice and precise. Well, maybe not nice, but come on, he wanted to get the buns and get back to Greenie. Gah. The kid jumped a bit and turned around. He looked around his age with blonde hair with what looked like a lighting stripe in black on the side. Dude, where did you come from? That shocked me. Through the door, you're still in the way. Ah, my bad, sorry man. The kid stepped to the side so now Hitoshi could finally see the bun options. Pizza bun was always tasty, but maybe he should get a sweet one? He plans on buying the pork one for Izuku, so if he goes with sweets they can have a sweet and savory one, but pizza. So what are you thinking? The super spicy chicken sounds good, but how spicy is super spicy? I'm no wimp, but I'm not a monster either. One time I saw this spiky blonde kid buy that. He took a bite, then he'd scared, and I kid you not he took a bottle of this super spicy hot sauce out of his pocket and poured it on the bun. I could smell the spiciness of the sauce. So is it spicy? Or is that kid just a beast? Hitoshi could feel his eye twitching. He just wanted some bun, and here he was stuck listening to this guy talk about a kid with burnt taste buds. Finally the clerk was done checking out the old lady and turned to Hitoshi and Chicken Boy. "What can I get you too?" The clerk gave them a smile and Hitoshi had to resist giving a glare in return. He just met this guy who again was in his way of obtaining the buns, and now the clerk thinks they are handing out together. He will not pay for lightning lad over here. "I'll take a pork bun and a pizza bun, please." "And just that, thanks." "Oh, good choices, my dude." "I'm not your dude." After getting the buns and paying, Hitoshi went to leave to go back to Greenie. The buns were on sale, so with the little money he took and the money saved from back when he got the allowance, he has a bit less 100,000 yen. Author's note: based on current yen to USD at the time this is written, 100,000 yen is around $67. He has $50. Around half was taken as change and loose bills around the Tanaka's house over the course of a little more than a month. "It was nice meeting you, dude. Enjoy the buns." Looking back gave him the sight of the bun case hoarder giving him a big bright smile. Man, that kid was extremely friendly. Like, what the fuck? Hitoshi just left. He might have given him a nod back, but sue him. Okay, the smile was almost as bright as Greenie. After being around Sunshine Midoriya and his smile, which is so nice and bright that rainbows practically shoot out of his because it is like light after a rainstorm, Hitoshi is a bit more susceptible to bright smiles. In the background he could hear Blondie getting the super spicy chicken bun. Greenie was right where he left him and gave Haidam a bright smile upon his return. Hitoshi really needs to get a pair of sunglasses or something. What did you get? Hitoshi handed the pork bun to Greenie. "I got you pork and I got pizza. Want to split them in half and share?" That's the P plan. The two just traded the half when Hitoshi spotted Bright Boy leave the 7-Eleven and then took a bite out of the bun. The kid's face almost immediately turned red before he practically sprinted back inside the store to most likely grab a drink or perhaps even an entire shelf of milk. Guess that guy was a fucking beast with no taste buds? Greenie gave him a questioning look, which is fair cause that is a weird thing to say without context. "Don't worry about it." After they finished the buns, both were very tasty, but pizza bun will always be Hitoshi's favorite. The bus arrived and they got on. They were lucky and it was pretty empty, so they got 2 seats together and watched cat videos on mute, cause they aren't monsters who bother people by playing videos with sounds on a public transport. Hitoshi had the walker folded next to him and it was a pretty quiet ride back. It wasn't quiet when they entered the Tanaka's house for the night. Before Hitoshi fully entered the door he was grabbed by the arm and yanked inside. The muzzle was quickly put on him. "You're late." Mrs. Tanaka was screaming in his ear. She was the one putting on the muzzle and Mr. Tanaka had him by the arm. Greenie was still in the doorway. Hitoshi used a hand to fingerspell discreetly at Greenie. Hitoshi does not want Greenie in the middle of whatever this is. "We thought you might be late. You think we are too stupid to not notice any fucking money missing? You fucking thief. You want to be a criminal so badly, a villain? Well, let me fucking help with that. You take my fucking money, you are now going to earn me fucking money." Mr. Tanaka shoved him in the nearby closet. They shut the door and locked it. This was the closet that Mr. Tanaka normally kept his work files when not going through them, so this closet always had a lock. Hitoshi never knew why a police officer would keep so many files at home so often, but right now they were missing and he was being locked in an empty closet. Hitoshi doesn't know what was going on. He really thought they wouldn't notice the money missing. It was only a few thousand yen. What does she mean by earning her money? "Honey, go call them. Tell them to bring the money and then we will have the villain off our hands." Oh, that was what she meant. Hitoshi was being sold. Izuku was currently in the locked bedroom that he and Hitoshi shared. Right now though it was just him, as Toshi was currently locked in the downstairs hall closet, muzzled and ready to be sold. Right after the Tanakas were done with locking in Toshi, they grabbed Izuku and dragged him up the stairs and locked him in the bedroom. His walker must still be outside, where it fell, but at least right now he had his backpack. He needed to do something though. If he didn't, then Toshi would be sold off to a villain group. He heard what the Tanakas were saying to Toshi and what they were saying to each other before Izuku was taken to his room. It wasn't enough, but with what he knew of Mr. Tanaka's job and the comments they were saying, Izuku was able to piece things together. Mr. Tanaka worked with the police. He wasn't an officer, but rather worked in the evidence department and with a lot of the records. His quirk was duplicate. Apparently when doing that he made a few connections with some of the gang's ECT in the area. He would misplace a few things here and there, or maybe even change a few records. In return he got some money and a bit of protection. His quirk was useful for this too. Mr. Tanaka's quirk was record keeping. If he ran his hand over a page, he could copy the information over to another page. Limitations seemed to be pictures, and while he copied the information, it did not affect his memory, so it didn't help him retain the information. Izuku bet he probably sold the police records as well. Well, one day Mr. Tanaka let it slip to the bigger gang in the area, the Red Snakes, that he had a foster child with a brainwashing quirk. The snakes were mainly in Kamino Ward, but did seem to branch out a bit. Of course, like all terrible people who immediately assumed Toshi's quirk would be perfect and only good for bad things, the gang was immediately interested in buying Toshi and offered a lot of money. From the news sites, the Red Snakes were a drug-dealing gang that might also dabble in a bit of weapon dealings. The heroes have busted some dealing, but the main members were still at large. With a brainwashing quirk on hand, Izuku imagined that things would be easier for them. Instead of using their own men who could get captured by heroes and police, they could force Toshi to brainwash a civilian and make them do the deal. There were a couple of ways that Izuku could think of how the gang could utilize and use his friend. Izuku did not want that to happen to his dear friend. Not only was he worried about his friend's physical being, who knew how the gang would care for a child, but Izuku knew being used for villain would mentally hurt Toshi a lot. He wants to be a hero and use his quirk for good. Izuku figured all that out, but how can he prevent this from happening? The Tanakas were unlikely to change their mind. The gang was unlikely to change their mind. The foster system won't look too much into this and will just figure that Toshi ran away. Is that the solution? Should they just run away? Right now both Izuku and Toshi are locked up, but there are lock-picking videos on YouTube, and Annie gave him a sewing kit that he keeps in his suitcase, so he should have items to help him lockpick. This might just work. The Tanakas were currently up still. Izuku could see that the lights were still on from under the bedroom door, so he can't escape now, but he can start watching the videos. Around 10 p.m., the Tanakas went to bed. By 12 p.m. Izuku deemed it safe enough for them to be asleep for him to try and pick the locks. The lighters were all off and Izuku could hear a bit of snoring. Mrs. Tanaka's quirk did not work when she was asleep, so hearing the snoring was a good sign. Since he could hear that it was Mr. Tanaka snoring, he was all good to start. Alright, now seems like a good time. It was late enough that everyone should be asleep, but early enough he should be able to take his time lockpicking. Izuku watched the videos and had a few different sized sewing needles, but without prior practice it was pretty difficult. Toshi's life was on the line though. So Izuku had to do this. It took 30 minutes for the first lock, 20 for the second, and the third took 15. He was getting better. He had one more lock, then he could go get Toshi. The last lock was the most difficult though. It was a combination lock and sliding chain. The lock he got after 25 minutes. The chain he was having trouble with. The sewing kit has a mini hard ruler and a small mirror for some reason. With only the chain holding the door shut, there was a gap that he was able to hold the mirror with one hand and see the chain. At this point his hands were shaking a lot and they were cramping, but he was so close. Finally though, he got the chain to fall and he could now fully open the door. He decided to grab his backpack but leave his suitcase in the room for now. Toshi might need something from the room anyway. Very quietly Izuku crept down the stairs. While he couldn't remember hearing a squeaky step, it never hurt to be careful. The last thing he wanted was to be caught right now. He wasn't sure what the Tanakas would do, but it couldn't be anything good. When he reached the last step, Izuku paused just to make sure he couldn't hear anyone moving. All that he heard was snoring, which was a good sign. Still being careful, Izuku moved as silently as he could to the closet. Just be like Eraserhead. Sneaky and silent. The closet was in sight and luckily no key was needed. Izuku unlocked and opened the door. Toshi was huddled on the ground. When the door opened, Toshi quickly looked up. Izuku never wanted to see that fear in his best friend's eyes ever again. Luckily that fear was quickly replaced with confusion when he saw not the Tanakas or other strange men, but rather tiny Izuku. Luckily, since they both know sign language, they didn't have to talk out loud to communicate. Izuku quickly signed to Hitoshi as he urged his friend to stand. Let's get out of here. The red snakes are coming to get you soon. We have to run. Your backpack is by the door, but our suitcases are upstairs. Toshi nodded. I'll grab the suitcases and other things. You stay here. They both turned away from the closet and practically came face to Mrs. Tanaka. They were dead. They were in plain sight. She was in front of them. Toshi was going to be forced back into the closet and Izuku was going back to the bedroom, most likely after everything was taken out of it, so he couldn't escape again. They were doomed. She was right there. But then she was turning away, she was moving to the fridge. Was she sleepwalking? And sleep eating? Is that a term? No wonder she was always complaining about her weight and how all the diets she tried didn't work. Izuku and Toshi practically almost collapsed in relief. They still had a chance to run away. While Toshi quickly but quietly ran back upstairs, Izuku grabbed Toshi's backpack and ever so slowly to not make any noise he opened the front door. That door tended to creak a bit, but luckily opening it slowly did help. Izuku saw his walker fallen in the bushes, so at least he still has that. Seeing his walker though made him realize that while it was easy for Toshi to disappear, it wouldn't be for him. He had 3 weeks off of treatment, but then he would have to go back to the hospital. If the Tanakas reported him missing, then the hospital would give him back immediately. Mrs. Tanaka was a great actress, and knowing her, she would probably spin something on how Toshi kidnapped Izuku, or tricked him, or something. Even on the chance the Tanakas didn't report him missing, it still wouldn't be good for him, since every visit where he wasn't accompanied by a guardian, since he was a minor, the hospital always called the Tanakas when he arrived for treatment. With that, the Tanakas would know where he was and could take him back. While Izuku was thinking about all that, Toshi came back downstairs with the suitcases. He nodded to Izuku that they had everything and the two left. The buses didn't run this late, and even if they did, it would be suspicious for 2 minors with suitcases to ride the bus. That just reeks of running away, and they can't have anyone being suspicious of them. They needed to find a place nearby to stay for now. It was late, but the sun should be rising soon. Neither of them slept, and they had to condense their items and ditch the suitcases soon. They also had to find a way to remove Toshi's muzzle. They walked for about an hour using mainly alleyways to avoid being seen. Hitoshi had his backpack and both suitcases, while Izuku was wearing his backpacks and using his walker. They were lucky, and tonight no one was out and about. They did look odd, and a policeman or a hero would be on them as soon as they were spotted. Right when Izuku was sure his legs were about to give out, they found the ultimate jackpot. There was an abandoned building that was boarded up, but had a few gaps just small enough for the 2 kids to fit through. There was of course the worry that there could already be people squatting there, but the sun was going to come up soon and they had to hide. They found a room on the ground floor that had a broken window that opened to the nearby alley. There was even a couch which would be great to sleep on. Dust was layering the slanted wooden table by the cough, so no one has been in this room at least for a bit. This would do for a night. They dropped the suitcases and bags in the corner and practically collapsed where they were. It wasn't safe to stay here long term, but for now it would do. This should be good for N now. Let me look at your muzzle. Izuku turned towards his friend. The muzzle was put on tighter than usual, so blood was all around his mouth. That was another reason why they too did their best to hide out of sight. When Izuku took a closer look by using his cell phone flashlight, he found that it was a different one than usual. There was still a lock on it like the other one, but this lock looked more complex. Let me try picking the lock. Izuku started to work in it. At this, the sun was rising, but due to the building next to them, they weren't getting any light from the window, so Izuku kept the flashlight on his phone on. Right when Izuku felt like progress was being made on the lock, Toshi's eyes widened. He grabbed Izuku and practically shoved the boy behind him. Izuku wasn't sure what was going on till he heard a voice coming from the direction of the broken window. Well, what are a couple of brats doing here? What are a couple of brats doing here? They were screwed. They thought they found a safe spot to rest for the night, but clearly the room was claimed by someone else. Hitoshi just wanted the muzzle off him and then go to sleep, but no. This guy just had to interrupt and barge in. Ain't that just the sour and spoiled cream of the crop? They found what they thought was a safe space and nope, not safe. They were in a vulnerable state with both of them so exhausted. Greenie looks like he is about to pass out. Hitoshi is sure he looks similar. Hitoshi was still wearing the muzzle, so he couldn't even use his quirk to try and make the guy go away. He couldn't do much, but still he pushed Greenie behind him. Did he think he could protect his friend at this moment from an attack? He could do his best, but realistically this day has been such an emotional roller coaster that Hitoshi himself was about to collapse. First, the day was going great. Greenie and himself were able to spend a bit of time outside. He met Lightning Boy and heard the story of the blonde beast with no taste buds. Also, he couldn't forget the tasty pizza bun that he shared with Greenie. Then he found out he was going to be sold to a group of villains. That was a terrifying thought. He knows his quirk is powerful. You would have to be stupider than a bag of rocks used as a doorstop then not realize how powerful brainwashing could be. That was why people were scared of him. That was why his egg and sperm donor gave him up. That was why the villains wanted him. Hitoshi almost ran out of hope. Then his friend rescued him. Greenie, who was as sweet as peach pie covered in sugar and right now as weak as a kitten. That friend saved him when he was in a dark place, literally in the dark closet. Then they ran away. They made a big leap of faith in running, but it was probably the best choice. Except for now. Now the two of them were practically cornered by this stranger. The guy in front of them was intimidating as fuck. He has piercing blue eyes, pitch black hair, and a husky deep voice that even when spoken in a whisper makes people listen. All that by themselves is intimidating, especially since the guy was crawling in the window towards them. The man was covered in dark patches. Those patches honestly look like burnt skin and staples. Honestly looks like a monster from a B-rated horror movie. Now Hitoshi likes horror movies. They are his favorite kind of movies. However, he doesn't want to encounter a horror situation in real life though. Those things can stay in movies and this guy can fuck off and crawl into a TV Sadako stipe and get away from Greenie and him thank you very much. While Hitoshi wishes that would happen, right now though the guy was out of the window, in front of them and staring them down. Couple of runaways, huh? Guess that muzzle is Y2. Hitoshi was just glaring at his guy. He can't do much else right now. You why yeses? Gosh darn it, Greenie, don't answer the burnt chicken of a man. Hitoshi shoved his friend a bit further behind him. Hey, relax. I've been there, done that shit. I just came to lay on the couch I dragged in here. This room is known as one of my rooms, so no one should bother you for now. Is burnt chicken man nice? Why you are okay with you us here? For now at least. I'm tired and want to go the fuck to sleep. Also, did Hitoshi mean to call him a burnt chicken? He meant blackened chicken, the tasty and classy way to describe burnt chicken. This is blackened chicken man. Thank you sir. Greenie gave his famous 1000-watt smile. Hitoshi could see the man squint his eyes a bit at that smile. It was very bright. Hitoshi still needs to invest in some sunglasses now that he thinks about it. Greenie took that as the go-ahead to finish unlocking Hitoshi's muzzle. Call me Dobby. With that the man plopped face down on the couch. Still mood. Oh, and if you guys have any funny business, well, I did learn to sleep with one eye open. You won't have to worry about people you ran away from finding you though. All that will be left is ash. The muzzle unlocked and opened when Dobby, which is a weird name like cremation? Really? Emo much, lifted his and a small blue flame appeared in the middle of it. They were a bit of a distance away from the man and Hitoshi could still feel the heat coming off of that flame. Guess cremation was a fitting name. W.O.T. It's so cool. The heat. I can feel it from here. We are like about 3 meters away and I still feel it. Dobby me means cremation. Is T that why you said WE would be ash? Who human bodies turn to a ash at about 1400 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. That is super hot and even a H hotter flame T than Endeavor's hellfire. T the possibilities. H have you tried to make a R really tiny F flame on a fingertip and S solda metal? I is 1800 degrees the hottest? WH what is the L lowest? ST studies show people with F flame quirks T tend to have a range of T temperatures. W what about? Hitoshi was rubbing his jaw while just watching Greenie go off on one of his quirk tangents. He was starting to mumble at this point. He took a look over at Dobby and the guy looks a mixture of done with the world and gobsmacked. He was probably thinking along the lines of, who the fuck is this bright green kid and I am too tired for this. To be fair, Hitoshi has been there before. The rant Greenie went on about how Best Jeanist has no nose or mouth did that to him before. Did the rant make sense? Greenie had his points. Was it like all conspiracy theories and mess with his head? Also yes. Come on Greenie. Guy looks half dead, and not even because he looks like a burnt piece of chicken. Let the man sleep before you go off too much on his quirk and give him an existential crisis. Was it a smart idea to call the guy who could turn them into ash a burnt piece of chicken to his face? Probably not. Was it the dumbest thing he has done? Debatable, but most likely yes. Is he regretting it? Not really, no. His muzzle was finally off, he is very tired and in pain. Sarcasm and insults tend to be his default mode and right now in a possible life-threatening situation is no different. Did you just call me a burnt piece of chicken? I can kill you right now. One move from me and you'll be the burnt piece of chicken. Greenie broke out of his mumbling and started to turn really pale. Hitoshi just gazed right back at Dobby. Well, he just insulted the guy. Might as well do another stupid thing. He stuck his tongue out at the man threatening him. Greenie gasped and was about to open his mouth, most likely to apologize on behalf of Hitoshi and beg for his life, when Dobby started to laugh. It was a dark and wheezy laugh. Sounds like the guy in the chair smokes cigars kind of laughs. Dobby does have a flame quirk, so smoke came with the job, so that doesn't help. I like you, kid. I'm going to sleep now, but if you two are here when I wake up, I can tell you guys some of the tics to get by being homeless. With that, Dobby settled down on the cough and seemed to fall asleep. Well, that happened. What do you think, Greenie? Should we stay here for the night, day really? Hitoshi is smart, at least he thinks so, but being smart is also realizing that Greenie is way smarter. Hitoshi trusts Greenie with his life and would honestly follow his friend till the end of the earths. W are both tired. I don't have much energy to leave and find another S spot. I if someone else does see come in. D Dobby is here. W while he W wouldn't P protect us, B being by him even in indirectly is a F form of PR protection. Early he was S surprised by seeing us here. He said T this spot was K and known as his WH, which shows he is P powerful and R respected and F feared. Being H here is probably PR pretty safe. S safer than a new unknown place. P plus he laughed and said he could give us tips. Greenie was making good points and to be honest Hitoshi felt the same. Greenie glanced at Dobby before signing some more. Worst case and he tries to hurt us we can fight back. He has a flame quirk, but his skin is all burnt. When he was showing us the blue flame, I could see his hand twitching slightly. His quirk hurts him and we could use that to our advantage. Also, the muzzle is off. Worst case scenario you can stop him before he hurts us. I know you don't like using your quirk too much and I hate to ask this of you. You can think of it as practice when you are a hero. A guy that attacks two kids is definitely not nice. Hitoshi nodded. Yeah, he doesn't like using his quirk. When he uses it in the past he often gets hurt. However, he does want to be a hero and practicing now to stay safe and protect Greenie would be the best use of his quirk. They will leave it as the last case option though. Dobby seems powerful and maybe even influential. If word got out of what he can do in his quirk, well, that wouldn't be good. Sounds good. Come on, let's get some sleep ourselves. Hey Greenie? Why yes. Thanks for saving me. Oh, of course. You are my B best and D dearest friend. I will always be T there for you. IW would never let that happen to you. I'll do my B best to protect you. Greenie is literally the best person on the planet. If anyone were to disagree with that true statement, then Hitoshi will fight them if that wouldn't upset the Greenie, so a mean glare would do instead. The two friends took their suitcases and backpack and put them in the corner. They used the backpacks as pillows. It wasn't super comfy, but to be honest Hitoshi slept in similar conditions before. Before they laid down, Izuku took 2 empty plastic bags from his backpack and gave them to Hitoshi. He put one in the door hinge and the other the W window ledge, so if anyone enters we have a C chance of hearing. Though we be both sleep very light anyway. Living in a toxic and abusive household like the Tanakas did force someone to be a light sleeper. Hitoshi has been living in foster homes most of his life, so he, as Dabi put it, sleeps with one eye open anyway, but the bags were a very smart move too. Hitoshi also made sure that the walker was within grabbing distance of them. The walker would make a great blunt force weapon if needed. Best thing they had at the moment, to be honest. Now that he thinks about it, Hitoshi really should have grabbed some knives or scissors while back at the Tanakas. Maybe a lighter too. That would have been smart. Too late for that now though, and thinking about it was a waste of energy. Hitoshi set them up and when laying back down held Greenie to his chest as both a form of warmth and comfort. He was so tired. His life sure has become crazy with Greenie in it, but better here on a dusty floor with his best friend than sold off. At least with Greenie he knows he has someone watching his back. Waking up after spending the entire night on the cold, concrete ground is a pain. Literally pain, mind you. The joints don't really appreciate the ground as a bed, but beggars can't be choosers. Hitoshi got up and did some stretches. That helps minimize the pain he learned. This isn't his first time sleeping on the floor, and seeing as he is now currently homeless, it won't be his last time. Maybe he should take up yoga? If stretching helps, will yoga before bed help too? And that is a thought for later. Right now his back is begging to be cracked. Hitoshi placed the back of his hand against the small of his back. He then slid his forearm against his back. He took his unoccupied hand and placed it on top of his fluffy, gravity-defying purple hair and then pulled his head toward his shoulder until he felt the crack. That felt so much better. What the fuck? Was that your back? Fucking hell, kid, that's not right. Oh yeah, Burnt Chicken Man is here too. Hitoshi turned to the couch and saw Dabi sitting there, phone in hand, just starting back. He was looking at Hitoshi like Hitoshi was some eldritch monster. Rude, Burnt Chicken Man, rude. Hitoshi in response decided to crack his neck as well. That noise made Dabi gag a little. More power to him, he made the son of Staples gag with the power of his cracking joints. Go Toshi. Toshi? Looks like Greenie was waking up. Greenie was now sitting up and rubbing his eyes. He looks like a sleepy piece of broccoli. Sleepy broccoli? Slockily? Broeepy? None of those sounded good. Well, morning Greenie. I was just entertaining Staples here with the sounds of my joints. Gee, glad ISL slept through tea that. See, broccoli boy gets it. Greenie gave the older boy an adorable pout. Tea, that's not my N name. Dabi raised an eyebrow in return. You guys never introduced yourself last night? Oh, how rude of us. I am Izuku and he is Hitoshi. Broccoli boy and the purple troll suit you two better. Well, fuck you two, man. Sounds good, Burnt Chicken. Two can play at that game. Like you have any room to stand cracking, kid. Son of Staples. Sleeps reject. Oh, like your underbags look any better, Toasty McToasterson. Fuck you, your trollness. You look like you belong at the bottom of an oven, leftovers. You look like you live under a bridge, purple pain. Butthead. Butthead? No one has called me a butthead since I was like 5. Maybe not to your face they haven't. Greenie was just staring at them with a look of pure concern as the two insult each other. Again, is it smart to insult a man who can kill him in one move? Will Hitoshi stop? Also no. This is pretty fun, to be honest. Guys. Stop. Looks like Greenie had enough. Well, it was fun while it lasted. Alright. So, you two are now homeless and on the run, it seems. Congratulations and welcome to the lifestyle. What's your next move? What was their next move? Last night they had to leave the Tanakas, but what next? Going back isn't an option. Should they go to the foster center and try to find a new home? That may work, but they may also just shove them back at the Tanakas and then it would be game over for Hitoshi and welcome to a life of chains, muzzles, and crimes. Is it best to stay out here? What about school? If the Tanakas called the school and said he ran away, if he goes back the school could send him right back. Greenie's school is at least online, so he could continue. As for money, Hitoshi has a little bit, but not too much. Should he try and get a job? Would any place hire an 11-year-old? Probably not. What to do next? And next move is to find a place to stay long T-term. Have a few ideas after that. B, but we need a P place to stay W with electricity. Oh, electricity? Why, this place isn't good enough for you. You should be grateful I even let you two sleep here for a bit. Dobby. Why you are clean shaven. While you SM smell like smoke, you don't SM smell like you live in G garbage or H haven't showered in a bit. Also, when you C came into the W window, you said T this place is one of Y yours. Most likely Y yourself have a P place with R running water even. Y your phone I isn't L low on batteries, so your P place also and most likely electricity too. Dobby smirked a bit and leaned back on his couch. You are a little Sherlock Holmes aren't you? Analysis quirk 2 like the guy? I prefer the pre-quirked adaptation O of the D detective. I see. Well, I won't ask for more details. I like you Sherlock. Watson is also amusing, or how about this? You two stay with me for a bit at my apartment. It has electricity and running water. I won't provide any food though. That shit is on you. W, what do you want in our return? You're smart. You figured out my quirk's weakness last night, right? Toshi was watching this interaction with a blank face. He protected that face ages ago, and while his greenie was making negotiations, he didn't want to muck it up by giving away anything with his face. He kept a blank face when Greenie pretty much admitted to the burnt chicken he was quirkless. He kept a blank face when it seemed like Dobby was going to help him. However, his eyes widened with that. Greenie also looked startled. How on earth did Dobby know Izuku told Hitoshi, in sign language mind you, that Dobby is weak to the heat of his own quirk? The guy was snoring and his face was facing the inside of the couch? Lesson number 1, always keep a pocket mirror on you. Dobby slid down his phone case and received a thin, rectangular mirror. Hitoshi can see it now. Dobby was faking his snoring. Then he took the mirror and watched what Greenie and Hitoshi were doing while his back was turned on them. He was watching them the whole time, and they were oblivious to it all. Fucking cats in wicker baskets, that was impressive. Hitoshi needs to get himself a mirror too. You are smart, broccoli boy. You broke down my quirk and came up with suggestions for it. Then you discovered my weakness. You can stay with me. In return, I want you to do some analysis for me if I ask. Sounds good. WW hat would you be doing with this an analysis? A little of this, a little of that. Well, that was suspicious. Greenie was clearly thinking about this offer. I have online school, so I can continue T that. Hitoshi C can do I it with me and K keep up W with his schooling. B before high S schule he can T test out of middle. T that way he has his D degree and can apply to you at A but W won't have to PHY isically go to school T till then. I have a P plan to make money. A all that needs my laptop, so E electricity. We need a S safe space. W are both kids, 11. Us surviving on O our own is Slim. WL to Toshi could probably do it. I couldn't. I am a B burden to H him. B but I'm S selfish and don't want to L leave Toshi, so our B best bet to S stay together A and survive is Y. W will take Y your offer. Smart boy. Sounds good. Alright. Grab your stuff and we will head out. All of Izuku's reasoning made sense. However, with Dobby smirking at them, for some reason Toshi feels like they just sold their soul to the devil. Oh, you're right. The old hag has been crying on and off again for a few months. Pops has been sad too. Can't say Katsuki blames them. Auntie Inko's death has been hard on all of them. She and the old hag have been friends forever, probably since the dinosaurs. Auntie was always so nice. She would smile at anyone. And she gave great. Her spicy curry was great too. It is odd, not coming home from school and hearing the old hag on the phone with Auntie. The two talked practically every day. That was how Katsuki knew about Deku and his brain tumor. Man, how much of a Deku is Deku for being sick on top of being quirkless? Seriously, there should be a limit on how useless someone should be, but that wasn't true. Being sick wasn't a sign of uselessness. It wasn't Deku's fault, like his quirklessness. What happened to being the wonder duo? How could Zuko betray him? His grandma was pretty badass. Of course, she was to be related to the future #1 hero, but she was pretty cool. She wasn't a hero, but she was still pretty cool. She took no shit and gave no fucks. Once when he visited her and she took him for ice cream, a stupid villain tried to take her purse. She beat up the pathetic guy with said purse instead. But then she got sick. Breast cancer. She got weak. She ended up in a hospital attached to so many fucking machines. She died there too. She wasn't useless or a Deku. School was getting annoying. The extras kept going on and on about stupid Deku and how excited they were for him to lose his hair. Everything was so stupid and annoying. Then Auntie died. Then Deku disappeared. He went to a foster home, the old hag said. Fucking fosters. Like they would be anyone near on the level of Auntie and her badassness of taking care of people? Was Deku Izuku okay? Did he lose his hair? Where was he? Katsuki isn't stupid. When he learned about stupid Deku going to stupid foster care, he decided to look up some information about it. The statistics about it were okay, no there weren't, maybe a bit shitty, but like everything is compared to Auntie he guesses. But Deku is quirkless, he is weak. He was stronger than all the other extras for all the shit that he goes through. Would the nerd be taken care of? The nerd is pretty simple, like all extras. All the nerd needs to be happy are his notebooks and access to the news. And Auntie. Don't forget about Auntie. She always made him the happiest. Is he eating enough? How are the hospital visits? The old hag always said Auntie took the nerd to his chemo treatments. Was he going alone now? Is Izuku alright? Would he see him again? Or will he be attached to the machine and just slip away too? Where is Izuku? Dabi was very well aware that life was not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, he knew life was more like a dumpster on fire that is being pushed off a cliff into a bigger pile of trash that is also on fucking fire. In total, life sucks and you die. In actuality, life is about luck really. Either you were born with it or luck decided to say, nah, screw this one in particular. If you are the former, then you might believe all that sunshine and rainbow bullshit that the media loves to promote along with the heroes. Fucking heroes. If you were born without luck, well then shit. Hope you like the smell of burning trash. You could either roll with the flow and get run over by a fucking steamroller, or decided to say, you know what? Fuck it, I cast fireball motherfuckers. Always in favor of arson, Dabi chose the latter. He quickly became infamous in the underground. His quick was powerful. It was also very useful in cleaning up certain messes. Sure, it was annoying to be called at like 2 in the morning to turn some bodies to ash, but hey, it was a great way to earn money. His little cleanup business was the main way Dabi made some cash. It was easy. Arrive at the scene, burn the bodies and other evidence, and bam! Money. Word of mouth was everything in the underground, and Dabi was happy that he practically had 5-star reviews. People would get his burner phone number from an info broker Dabi likes to deal with, Jiren, and then it was business from there. He made enough to afford a not-too-shabby apartment in the shadier area. No one questioned why he would leave at any hours of the day and come back smelling like a barbecue. People minded their own business and Dabi appreciated that. Hopefully people would keep minding their own damn business when he brings back the 2 kids he found. Finders keepers and all that junk. He just finished a job for a local gang and decided he was too tired to head back to his apartment. Dabi had a few hideaways around town for instances like these. Sure, sometimes he would find people in his space, but there are many ways to get rid of people in your space. Dabi was an expert in that. Let's just say that the dust might not really be dust. That was what he planned to do when he heard 2 voices in one of his places, but then he got a look at them. One was clearly very sick with a fucking walker and the green sprout hat and everything, and the other looked dead on their feet wearing a motherfucking muzzle of all things. With the suitcases in the room as well, they were clearly trying to leave a crappy situation. And didn't that hit too close to home? Let it be known that Dabi did have a heart. Sure, it was cold, shriveled, and almost dead, but he did have a tiny bit of a heart and empathy. Usually that little piece of his heart is for the alleyway animals that hang around, but these kids just tug at it too, though now that he thinks about it, the 2 can technically also count as alleyway animals. Purple is clearly a feral kitten. Green might be more like an abandoned puppy. Originally, he was going to just let the kids sleep in the room for a night before leaving and warning them about staying in his space for too long, but then the green one starting talking and analyzing his quirk. His oh-so-loving sperm donor made sure one was done of his quirk in the past. Dabi thought it was obvious. His fire is hot and it burns shit so bad all that is left is ash. This kid though clearly thought more of it. And damn was it pretty good. Either the one his father hired was shit, or this kid was a little genius. Still though, he was tired and all he really thought was, who the fuck is this bright green kid and I'm too tired for this? The purple one did shut the green one up once the muzzle was off, but only because he called Dobby, a very dangerous man whom many call upon and fear, a burnt piece of chicken. A fucking burnt piece of chicken. Then the kids had the audacity to stick his tongue out at him. The green one looked 5 seconds from an aneurysm. The room was so tense that you could cut the air with a knife. All Dobby could do was laugh. Purple was like a puffed-up kitten that hides his fear with insults and indifference. How funny. Sure, his plan was to ignore them, beat them up if they try something, but now he'll help them out. These two clearly need the help. They don't seem to have a clear plan. They both are very tired and pretty vulnerable right now. They both most likely won't make it on the streets without someone showing them the ropes and teaching them the lessons. He wished someone would have helped him when he was broken and on his own in the streets. He learned too many lessons the hard way. He will never be a fucking hero, but he'll help these two out. He faked sleeping and watched them in his pocket mirror for a bit, and the want to help them out grew even further when he saw the green one planning ways to beat him in a fight. He could use that intelligence. Cleaning up messes was a good business, but it would help his main goal. This kid though and his analyzations. That might help him quite a bit. Also the purple one made him laugh. That was always a plus in his book. With his own Sherlock and Watson on hand, life will be more interesting, that is for sure. Alright you munchkins, here it is. Home sweet home. Dobby opened the door to his apartment and let the two runaways inside. He was on the top floor of the building. The building itself was a bit run down, but hey, there was running water that was sometimes warm, consistent electricity, and surprisingly enough pretty good Wi-Fi. He was also living in the only occupied unit on the top floor too. Last guy was either murdered or overdosed, or who the fuck cares? Why are there bloodstains on the ceiling? The purple troll was staring up at the ceiling indifferently while Broccoli Boy at least looked mildly concerned. Why are there bloodstains anywhere? 'Cause blood got on it. Alright, Dobby ushered them closer inside after making them take off their shoes. Here is the loving room. Kitchen is right. There are 2 bedrooms. Mine is back right down the hall in front. Enter my room and you will be Ash. You too can take the left. I think I just have random junk in there, maybe that spare futon or 2 the previous guy left here. I don't know. Bathroom is to the left of here. No bathtub, but deal with it. T there is a F futon. How nice. D did the other P person leave it as a H housewarming G gift? Oh no. He died of like an overdose I think, and like no one wanted his shit. My now. Speaking of, I still sometimes find his drugs stashed everywhere around here. If you find any, give it to me. I know a guy who will buy it. Well that's lovely. Come on Greenie, let's go put out stuff away. The troll was carrying the bags while Broccoli just has his walker. Hitoshi made his way over to the room. Izuku followed. T thanks again and Mr. Dobby. I'm going to make some cup ramen. I'll make you 2 shits one too. Izuku just gave the burnt man a big smile in return. Dobby was stunned. Like what the fuck? How could someone smile like the sun on a bright summer day? The 2 brats were in the spare room, well their room now really. Dobby had a stash of cup ramen, it was a good food. Sue him. And went to boiling water for 3. He got out his dented kettle, filled it, and put it on the stove to boil. In one day, he went from living alone and slowly planning his revenge to now living with 2 random kids he found. One was clearly very sick but also wickedly intelligent and bright. The other was more cautious due to clear mistreatment in the past, but was a sarcastic little shit. He now was 2 kids. Him, a single guy in his late teens, now has 2 children to look out for because he made it his responsibility. What the fuck has he done?